Fantastic. Thank you very much.
They're tossing up at the moment, actually. There goes Ackers, tossing the coin. It looks like Northants have won it.
Yeah.
I think Colin has just made the batting sign again.
Okay.
Which is what they prefer to do. We prefer to do, so whether you put us in.
Well, Northants have... The two that they won, they chased. But they chased against Yorkshire and didn't get close. So, of course, they similarly against the first game against Leicestershire, didn't they? So.
He looks in good shape, actually.
He does. No, he looks very svelte, doesn't he?
Match referee.
Yes, got him.
One of the men who doesn't take his duties to the media as meaning anything whatsoever.
No. There's a lot of it about.
That's not O'Shaughnessy. What? Fox's toss and bat.
Right.
Swindle's playing.
Okay.
For Kimber. Shows what I know. There's the Northants side. You got that?
Good evening, good evening.
Hello. It never rains at Grace Road in Ayleston, ever. It's beautiful, actually. I mean, it's suddenly gone very, very warm. The clouds have just started to break up and the temperature has risen. 750 allowed in as ever under the pandemic restrictions, and I think we're going to get most of those in the ground. Not all, then, following the England football match. A few have come down to see how the Foxes get on against the Steelbacks. No, we do. I can confirm that Colin Ackerman has won the toss for the Leicestershire Foxes and has chosen to bat, which is the way that Leicestershire have won their 3 games that they have won in the competition so far. And they have made a change to the usual 11, and it has been a usual 11 for Leicestershire in this competition. The only change is that Harry Swindles, the young wicketkeeper batsman, has come in for Louis Kimber. Don't know whether Louis has picked up a little bit of an injury, because he's done very well, the young man from Lincolnshire, since making his debut for the Foxes in this competition with that splendid 50 up at Derby, and then a decent 20 last time out as well. But he's taking a break tonight that made me feel it's getting a little bit too much for him. And young Harry Swindles is going to make his first start in the competition for the Foxes. First start this year, that is.
Yeah, and with Northamptonshire making 3 changes from the side that was well and truly drubbed up at Headingley on Saturday night. And I think it's partly, at least, with a view to the Championship match, which is coming up at the end of this week, starting against Yorkshire at Northampton on Sunday, which is now a sort of pivotal game in Northamptonshire's season. So they're just conscious, I think, of trying to make sure that some of the key players for that game are just going to get a little bit of a rest. So Adam Rossington drops out, likewise Ben Sanderson and Charlie Thurston, who's actually playing for the seconds at the moment. The good news for Northamptonshire supporters is that the white ball captain Josh Cobb, once of this parish, of course, in Leicestershire, he's back in the side for the first time since the second game against Nottinghamshire when he picked up an injury. So he comes back in. Ben Curran plays for the first time in the T20 this season, and also Northamptonshire giving a second appearance to the young left arm wrist spinner from the academy, 19-year-old Freddie Heldrick from Suffolk. He gets a game as well. Yeah, I think it's a very difficult one, and I was talking to David Ripley about this after the game up at Headingley on the weekend, and it's a very difficult call, but I think they just feel that, you know, there's others that they probably want to have a look at in T20. I mean, Ben Curran, I know, has been itching for a chance to play white ball cricket. He's tended to play, been thought of pretty much as a red ball player, and then of course he had a really poor start to the season and lost his place in the red ball side to Emilio Gay. So he's got a big point to prove, so he'll be having a go. Freddie Heldrick did play up at Durham in one of the matches that Northamptonshire won and bowled pretty well. So, you know, he's come back in. Ben Sanderson is just so important to the red ball side. He had not one of his better evenings. He's usually just, you know, Mr. Reliable, but he went for 29 in the last over up at Headingley, including 4 sixes on Saturday night, and I just think they want to make sure he's absolutely right for that. I mean, as far as Northamptonshire are concerned, if they were to beat Yorkshire, there's a very good chance that they could make it into Division 1 of the Championship, and that is, you know, a very big target. Northamptonshire just a little bit disappointed that, having got automatic promotion into Division 1 at the end of 2019, were then, because of, you know, the pandemic and so on and the different structure, were actually denied a chance to play in Division 1, and they feel that, you know, that's a realistic target. So that is such a big game now, and I think, to be honest, Northamptonshire are going to have to win all 5 of these matches to stand any chance of going through, and I think even if they win all 5, it may not be enough. So it's a tight call, and I'm sure supporters will have different opinions about it, but that's what David Ripley's gone with.
It is. I think he's very busy in the both at the crease and in the field as well. I don't think he'll keep wicket tonight. I would imagine Josh Inglis will continue to do so. It could, of course, be that Inglis has got a little bit of a niggle or something like that is preventing him keeping wicket. But as far as I'm aware, he will keep wicket as well. So Swindles gives you a little bit in the field. He's young and fit and quick, and they haven't always been brilliant in the field in this competition this season. And as you say, he's usually reliable with the bat in terms of getting a few quick runs, so it's not entirely surprising. The batting was a little bit poor last time out in the defeat at Worcester at New Road, 156 for 8. So perhaps they just feel that they'll just strengthen that middle order a little bit. They'll be hoping, I guess, that Swindles doesn't get a knock. That's when Leicestershire have been at their best in terms, obviously, of getting totals that have made it difficult for the other sides to chase. When the guys at the top of the order, the top 4 in particular, have made big runs, and that's what they'll be hoping happens tonight. And Ackerman has gone down that road by choosing to bat first. Adam, they've just tweeted Leicestershire that Kimber has had to withdraw because he's been identified as having been close to somebody who's returned a positive lateral flow test. Club statement. Ooh. No other close contacts. Shame. I was hoping not to go up to Durham. I would assume so, yeah.
That's not the school spirit, is it?
Leicester have cancelled all their games. Get in. I might go tell them that Louis and I had a good chat.
Yeah.
We did. Leicester have issued a club statement. They tweeted it out. They confirmed that Louis Kimber has been, quote, identified as a close contact to an individual with a positive lateral flow test. And the club, however, has identified that no other close contacts within the playing group or backroom staff that he has had. So that's why he's dropped out for precautionary reasons. He's been Welcome back to the Uptonsteel County Ground, Grace Road in Leicester, down a couple of miles south of the city centre in the Aylestone district of the city. Wide open spaces. The ropes, Andrew, are a long way back. The pitch is cut absolutely centrally. There's going to be a lot of running tonight.
There is, and I suspect, Richard, this is probably why Northamptonshire have decided to go with Freddie Heldrick. They were saying that if they weren't going to play him up at Durham, which obviously is another big field, just to give it a little bit of protection to a young wrist spinner, then that was the ideal place to play him. And I suspect the same applies here, and particularly when they saw, as you say, that it's a big playing area tonight, and so I'm not at all surprised to see Freddie Heldrick come back into the side, having just played that one game against Durham and then missed out for the following two.
The pitch, as umpires Tom Lungley and Peter Hartley head out into the middle, is used, as they say. It's one of the hybrid pitches, and therefore has a certain amount of wear in it. Lots of
Yorkshire at the end of the week. It just allows them to give him a little bit of a rest, and Ricardo Vasconcelos is behind the timbers.
Looks like Mohamed Nabi, formerly also of Leicestershire, is going to open the bowling for the Steelbacks from the Bennett end. In he comes, tosses one up. It's turned by Inglis down towards short fine leg. Fielder comes in and throws. Always going to be a single. Both batsmen go straight away, which they pretty much did. There was a momentary hesitation on the part of Inglis, but Steele was running to the danger end and was always confident of making his ground. I'm guessing that's young Mr. Heldrick.
It is Mr. Heldrick who's got no number. He is the man with no number.
He's got slightly longish fair hair up to the back of his Steelbacks baseball cap as Nabi is in, tosses it up again very slowly and just turned by Steele out towards mid-wicket. There is no run. He's giving it plenty of air, Nabi, just to see if there's any turn there. In he goes and bowls. That's a little bit quicker and is dabbed by Steele, but only as far as the man at short third. So good so far from Nabi. Just the single conceded from his first three deliveries. The two men out are at mid-wicket and long on as he goes in and bowls very straight, holds it back, and all Steele can do is just nervously, suspiciously prod it back up the pitch to the senior Afghan in the match. The other, of course, Leicestershire's own Naveen ul Haq. Nabi is in, bowls, and maybe just turned back into Steele a bit, who again, without too much foot movement, all he can do is push it back up the pitch towards Mo Nabi. So one from the first 5 balls. Steele has been good so far this season for the Foxes, but he hasn't scored particularly quickly at the top of the order. Nabi is in. That one does turn back in. It's dabbed by Steele down towards short third man, but only as far as short third man. So just the single from the very first ball. And Steele has not managed to score off the remaining 5. And after 1 over, therefore, the Foxes are 1 without loss.
5th game running that Mohamed Nabi has bowled the first over of the innings for Northamptonshire, and in the last 2 or 3 games he's also bowled 1 more in the power play. For a while they had this sort of formula that they stuck to, which was to use a spinner for the first over, and then we don't see any more spin until the first over after the power play, so over number 7. But in this game,
it's just turned a little bit, so it might be worth.
Well, again, I think this might have had something to do with the selection policy, and I think the fact that Freddie Heldrick's come in, so Northamptonshire going in with plenty of spin options, because Safe Zabe, of course, Rob Keogh and Graham White, Nabby and Heldrick. So, but for the time being, it's going to be Tom Taylor, also formerly of this parish, taking the new ball, and it turns that to mid-wicket, fielded by Safe Zabe, by Josh Inglis, who played such a magnificent innings at Northampton when these two sides met around about 10 days ago. That wonderful 100, and as David Ripley reflected afterwards, he said, Joe Clark, who got the big 100 also against Northamptonshire this year, gave them at least one chance, which they dropped. Inglis didn't give them any chance at all. It really was an exceptional 100. Fine leg for 6. It's gone all the way. What a super shot by Josh Inglis, carrying on where he left off at Wantage Road, just getting inside the line and helping it over long leg for 6. Of course, the man at fine leg was in the ring.
If you heard a little unexpected cheer there, it's because there's been some news from Wembley. If you don't want to know the score, put your hands over your ears now. We can confirm that England have taken the lead against Germany. The goal scorer, Raheem Sterling.
I say, I didn't hear any. Somebody must have had it on the earpiece, but well. Now the field is changed because they've now put a man back. It's just an element of closing the door after the horse has bolted. Is Taylor in again? That's driven beautifully through the covers by Inglis. That's running away for 4. Another handsome shot, and just a good cricket shot really. No risk taken at all. It was just in there in the slot, through the hands, put the hands through it, and it ran away for 4 over to our left. So 6 and 4 off successive balls. English against Taylor, and Leicestershire 11 for no wicket. Yes, they've put the man back now at deep fine, and third man has come up into the ring.
He just looks a bit resigned, Tom, at the moment.
Yes, he's just trudged back a little bit. Here's Taylor in again, and just bowled that on his hip. Inglis, and looks to work it away. I don't think he got any bat on it. It's chased down there towards fine leg by the keeper Vasconcelos, and it's signalled as a leg by umpire Lungley. So 1 more onto the total, 12 for no wicket, and a mid-wicket conference between these two. Nabby, who bowled the first over, has been far and away Northamptonshire's most economical bowler in the competition this year, averaging 6.2 per over.
One of Paul Nixon's sort of bugbears or biggest complaints about some of the defeats this season has been the number of dot balls that Leicestershire have played, and none for 5 Inglis at the moment.
Here's Taylor in, bowls to Steele, who plays that up to short mid-wicket, fielded by Safe Zabe, and that's the end of the second over of the innings, with 12 runs coming off it, 11 off the bat, 11 other runs off it, 10 off the bat, plus the leg by, 12 for no wicket at the end of the second over, with Inglis on 11 and Steele yet to get off the mark.
Yeah, having faced 6 balls, and Inglis has also faced 6 for his 11.
Yes, compare and contrast.
Well, his power plays are important. Inglis will be on strike for the start of the third over, which won't be bowled by... Well, it might be bowled by Nabby. He's there, but he doesn't look as though he's going to be involved. It looks like it's going to be White, isn't it? The left arm spinner. And Nabby's just offering him advice on his field, I suspect.
It will be interesting to see how Josh Cobb does shuffle his pack. As I say, he's got rather a spin-heavy attack tonight. He's got, as far as the seamers go, Parnell, Taylor and Brandon Glover, who's the out-and-out quick bowler.
I think it makes sense. They saw Northamptonshire, how Leicestershire packed their side with spinners, and in goes White and bowls onto the legs, and it does straighten a little bit, and Inglis indicates as much. He went onto the back foot, got a bit of a thick outside edge as the ball straightened off about middle and leg towards middle, and it went out into the offside where Nabby was the fielder at cover. So a little bit there. In goes White and bowls. Back goes Inglis, makes room. He follows him White and plays it out into the covers. Narby makes a little bit of a hash of the fielding. Grabs it at about the third attempt when it had gone 2 or 3 yards away. Bounced off his first grab away to his left. So Inglis picks up a single. Moves on to 12. Brings Steele down on strike. 6 balls faced, yet to score. What will he make of Graham White, who is in and bowling on towards the legs of Steele? Hits the pads. So he's going to signal wide. Didn't get anything on it. Came off the pads of Vasconcelos. So it certainly didn't grasp it cleanly and trickled down to Heldrick at short fine leg. So a wide is signalled. 15 without loss as White is in to English, who's down the wicket, lofting it high over mid-wicket, but he should be caught. There is a deep mid-wicket and he is caught. He raises his eyes to the heavens. Josh English, he got plenty of it, but he didn't really follow through with the shot. And in the end, it was a pretty comfortable catch for Rob Keogh out there, and that is a huge blow for Northamptonshire. They will be hugely boosted by that, Inglis having scored that spectacular century at Wantage Road. But not this time. He has gone the Australian and gone early, and Leicestershire are 15 for 1.
Yep, important wicket there for Northamptonshire, and players that always say that they don't take any notice of stats and they don't worry about that sort of thing. Well, Graham White's quite keen on his stats, and he will know that now puts him into second place on his own in Northamptonshire's list of all-time T20 wicket takers. It was his 71st wicket in Steelbacks colours in T20 cricket. He's now taken 101 in all T20 cricket, but he's now just only David Willey is ahead of him, just 2 ahead of him. And we were suggesting that he would dearly love probably to have gone past David Willey up at Headingley at the weekend. Well, it wasn't to be, but he'd probably settle for doing it this evening.
Well bowled Graham White in every respect. And he's got Scott Steele to bowl out now, the batsman having crossed. Does so. Steele turns it, but only as far as backward square, who comes in and fields. So again, Steele yet to get off the mark. He's just soaking up balls at the moment. He's faced 7 of them without really actually looking as though he's trying to get off the mark. They've all been little dabs or defensive pushes. White is in again. Steele is going to get off the mark as he stands up, waits for it and plays it through the vacant mid-off area out towards long off. Looks like Tom Taylor out there, so just the one. To Steele, 1 off 8 balls for him. Leicestershire 16 for 1. Been a pretty good over so far from White. The wide notwithstanding. He's going to come round the wicket to bowl to Aaron Lilly, the new man at the crease, and he tosses it up on towards middle and leg, clipped along the ground quite firmly out towards wide mid-on by Lilly. The field has to run away to his right on the edge of the circle, so always likely to be one there. Lilly made 99 not out a couple of games ago, and he ran 1 short.
Oh no.
I think he was on about 60 odd at the time, and of course we don't think it matters too much. As it turned out, it kind of did. 17 for 1 after 3.
And he clubbed a quick 44 off 29 balls, and the two sides met at Wantage Road. Missed stumping when he'd made 12 and made Northamptonshire pay for it. Hit 3 sixes in that innings. It does make me think with Josh Cobb comes into the attack, so the 4th over and 3 of them have been bowled by spinners. And it does make me think from what you were saying and looking at the balance of the two sides that we're going to see an awful lot of pace off the ball this evening. Here's Josh Cobb starting his bowling stint for the evening, and that's driven by Aaron Lilly, and he didn't get hold of all of it. It's run away for 4, but just for a moment I think Cobb would have thought he might have been in business. It went quite dangerously close to the fielder. There's a man at extra cover and a mid-off, and it just about cleared them and ran away for 4. So Lilly is 5 and the Fox is 21 for 1. As we were saying, this is the first time Josh Cobb has featured in Northamptonshire's T20 side since the 2nd game, and that's swung away towards deep mid-wicket, and he's going to be caught, and he is caught. And Aaron Lilly has just rather given that away, and it's Rob Keogh who's deep mid-wicket at one end, deep mid-wicket at the other. He's taken a catch at each. And Josh Cobb, welcome back to the side, captain. Picks up an early wicket. Lilly goes, and Northamptonshire have had a good little 10 minutes here. And Leicestershire have lost second wicket, and Aaron Lilly goes for 5, and I'm slightly baffled by his choice of stroke there.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what he was thinking there, because only 2 men out, one of whom is at deep mid-wicket. Whether the bat turned a little bit in his hand, whether he was trying to hit it a little bit straight, it didn't look like he was necessarily. There wasn't a long on, but
there you go. Here's Cobb starting his bowling stint as far as Colin Ackerman's concerned, and Ackerman punching that away off the back foot out towards extra cover. It's a long chase down there for a combination of Wayne Parnell and Mohammed Nabi, and in the end Parnell just flicks it back, and Nabi, in those bright blue fluorescent boots which we become familiar, gets his throw in, and they come through for 3 runs to get Colin Ackerman away. He's on 3, Steele is 1, 24 for 2, Inglis out for 12, Lilly for 5, and Cobb going round the wicket to Scott Steele, who tries the reverse sort of switch hit with the man at short third, man in the ring, in the circle, but doesn't make contact, goes into the gloves of Vasconcelos. He's Cobb in again, bowls to Steele. This time he just drops it out on the offside, and they come through for an easy single, fielded by one of the wicket takers this evening, Graham White, who's in there at extra cover. And now it's a change in the field for Ackerman. They're strengthening the offside, and now a ring of 5, saving 1 on the offside. They've now got about a point, a cover, an extra cover, a mid-off, as well as a backward point. Cobb in again, bowls, and he's caught and bowled. Ackerman just chips that back to Josh Cobb. Second wicket of the over for Northamptonshire's returning white ball captain. Colin Ackerman can't believe it. I suspect just beaten in the flight. Just hit it straight back to him. He goes. And another success for Northamptonshire. Go up, go and congratulate their captain, as I say, back in the side. And he's had an immediate impact. 2 wickets in the over, and Leicestershire 25 for 3.
This is pretty horrible stuff from the Foxes at the moment. Northamptonshire, I suspect, can't quite believe their luck. He might just have held that one back a little bit. Josh, and in looking to turn his wrists on it, Ackerman just chipped it straight back to the former Leicestershire man. 25 for 3, and we are still only 4 overs into the innings, so the power play at the moment decisively potentially in favour of Northamptonshire. Steele on 2 from 10 balls. Well, Lewis Hill did well, coming in at number 5 against Worcestershire last time out. Made a very good half century, hit one of the biggest sixes I've ever seen. Barely swinging the bat, cleared the Graham Hick Pavilion by some margin, but it's Rishi Patel.
That is a big blow.
It was extraordinary. I don't think, well, as Lewis himself said, I couldn't quite believe it, really. It was still travelling, that one, but it's Rishi Patel. Oh, is it? Lewis Hill. It is Lewis Hill, I beg your pardon, it is Hilly. Thought it might be after the way he played, and Rishi got a little bit bogged down in the middle of the innings against Worcester, so desperately need Hill to continue that sort of form. Leicestershire, he won't be on strike, it will be Steele on strike, because Josh Cobb, having taken 2 wickets in his over, comes to the end of it. Bowled Josh, 2 for 8 he's got from his 1 over. Graham White's going to continue. Spin very much the way to go. He's going to be bowling from the Bennett end. Bowls to Steele, who stands up tall and tries to work it out into the offside. Might just have straightened a bit, but he could only work it as far as Josh Cobb at extra cover. Josh claps his hands in encouragement, captaining, of course, the Steelbacks in the T20.
3 wickets and 10 balls for Northamptonshire.
In goes White and bowls thick outside edge from Steele as he tried to play that one, I suspect, fairly straight down through a very straight mid-on, but it bounced and straightened a little bit, and it flew off the thick outside edge in the air for a few feet out into the covers. White is in and bowls, tosses it up. He's driven it back past him along the ground out towards Nabi, who's been sent out to long off, I suspect, after his fielding at extra cover last time. You never know, don't be unfair to him. Single taken by Steele, moves on to 3 off 13. Foxes limp rather, on to 26 for 3. Just 1.5 overs left to go in the power play. Brings Hill down on strike. 59 off 33 balls he made against the Rapids on Sunday. In goes White and bowls. Hill drives it back past him in the same way. Just made a little bit of room, stepped back and drove it along the ground out towards Narby at long off. Takes the one. Up and running straight away. 27 for 3. Well, the wicket is going to take a little bit of turn all the way through. Foxes have plenty of spin in their own armoury. In goes White and bowls outside off stump. Back foot carve by Steele, but it was a little bit stiff-armed and he rather ended up steering it out to Parnell, who's at point. 27 for 3 remains the score. 1 ball to go in what's been a pretty good over. Just the 2 singles from it so far. White is in. Bowls to Steele, who goes back, looking to force. Gets a thick inside edge back along the ground to Graham White. Holds the ball threateningly as if he's going to hurl it at the stump. Steele holds his eye, puts his eyes up to the heavens, understandably so, because, as I say, just the 2 singles from the over. After 5 overs, Leicestershire 27 for 3. Steele 3 off 15 balls.
Yeah, it's Scott Steele just can't get going, can he, at the moment? And it's going to be more spin. There's going to be Josh Cobb to continue. And it means, this will be the final over of the power play. And all but one have been bowled by the spinners. So presumably, if you say that the 3 spinners are all going to bowl 4, presumably Freddie Heldrick will get a go. It means that we may not see a great deal of seam at all. They may have a quiet evening, Messrs. Parnell, Glover and Taylor. There's going to be Josh Cobb. Northamptonshire having picked up 3 wickets in 10 balls. This Cobb starting a fresh over round the wicket. Bowls to Hill, hits him on the pad as he tries to sweep. Not out in response to the appeal, says umpire Tom Lungley.
Pitched a long way outside.
Yeah, I think it was probably as much as anything else to make sure they didn't think about a single. One of those sort of appeals. There's Cobb at the end of his mark, bowling round the wicket. And Hill once again sweeps. Does make contact this time, but it only goes down to Freddie Heldrick on the edge of the circle on the 45-degree angle, saving one on the onside. And they come through for a single.
As well, he did make contact because that didn't pitch
outside.
That didn't pitch
outside, no. Then I think the question might have been asked if he'd missed, but he didn't. 2 to Hill, and Leicestershire up to 28 for 3. 2 men out at the moment for the last over of the power play. Deep mid wicket and long on. Switch hit by Scott Steele, and he's going to pick up 4 for it. Runs away down to, deep backward point, of course, although he turned round and played that like the left-hander, and it runs away to the boundary. And they pick up 4. Welcome runs for Leicestershire, who've run into a bit of trouble in this power play. Inglis out for 12, Lilly for 5, Ackerman for 3. 32 for 3 now. 3 balls to go in the power play. Cobbin again fires that one in and played up to short extra cover where Graham White's fielding by Scott Steele, and there's no run. Cobb already back and running in again, and once again Scott Steele goes for the switch hit. Doesn't time it anything like as well as the previous one, but he still gets a couple of runs. It beats Graham White at extra cover, runs away towards the old scoreboard. And Mohammed Nabi was chasing that one back towards the boundary and pulls it in. They go through for 2. 34 for 3. Steele up to 9.
Well over at Wembley.
And Cobb in again. Bowls outside the off stump. Clipped away down to backward point boundary for 4. Found the gap well. There was a man in there at backward point and a man at point, and he just bisected the 2, and it runs away for 4. So a more productive over there for Leicestershire, and at the end of the power play, 38 for 3. The Foxes with Lewis Hill on 2. Scott Steele has made 13 off 19 balls. Josh Cobb 2 overs for 19 and 2 wickets as well. Graham White 2 overs, no maidens, 1 for 7. Those are the wicket takers so far. And now we are going to see, by the look of it, another spinner coming into the attack. It's going to be Safe Zabe, who's bowled very little in the T20 this year, but he's going to bowl his left arm spin.
He's bowled 1 over, to be precise.
Yes.
For 13 runs.
I'm trying to remember where it was. It would have been...
He's got a long blue towel hanging out at the back of his trousers. Not quite sure. I suppose, you never know, might be a little bit of dew starting to rise, but not yet. You wouldn't have thought. Sun is out here at the Uptonsteel County Ground, and it is a most pleasant summer's evening. Round the wicket he comes and bowls his left arm variety of spin to Lewis Hill, who plays it firmly back down the pitch but straight to him.
That over was in the third game against the Bears.
Licks his fingers, comes in and bowls, top edged by Hill, could be caught. Oh, and the fielder says I didn't pick it up in the sun. Had he run it, kept running in from down there at the backward square, number 57. Ben Curran indicated, and he is looking a bit into the sun, that
it's in the air,
but it was in the air, yeah, and he started running in, and if he'd kept running in, he'd have got there. In goes Zabe, bowls very full and just dabbed down on just in time by Steele. But goodness me, that looked to be an opportunity spurned for, you know, fair enough reason, one of those things. And actually, Josh Cobb's just run over and given him a pair of sunglasses. Genuinely, you know, Curran wanted them, and Cobb has given them off the top of his hat. Cobb, of course, who is at extra cover, has his back to the sun. In goes Zabe, tosses that one up, and Steele just drives it along the ground out to Taylor, who's in isolation out there at long off. Takes 1. Hill has 3 then. From 5 balls, Steele 14 off 21, living rather dangerously. He's going to try his little switch hit and manages to dab it down to very fine third man. Parnell puts in the slide, can't get there, and almost hammers into it. In fact, he did bang himself on a bag down there. What else is down there? Looked to actually crack himself on the side of the face. Is that? It's a couple of the physio's bag. It's the Northamptonshire physio. He's okay. He's kind of picking himself up, or lifting himself up now.
Northamptonshire's physio, Barry Hudrian's just down there with him, and he's banged he's okay. He's up.
The side of his face on the bag as he rolled to try and stop the ball. He dived and slid and rolled to try and stop the ball. There's amusement from his teammates, no sympathy at all.
Mohammed Nabi's having a good old chortle. He's getting absolutely, as you say, no sympathy whatsoever.
There'd be a certain irony if he'd got himself injured on the physio's bag, there wouldn't there, I suppose?
They'd have to get him off to get him treated, wouldn't they?
Well, at least he wouldn't have far to go. In goes Zabe and bowls, and again, reaching out for it on the front foot. Hill is driving it out gently out towards Taylor, who comes in to meet it from long off, almost picks it up on the edge of the circle. Single taken. 45 for 3 at the end of the over, so 7 from it. Probably what Leicestershire have to do for just a couple of overs, just work it around, try and pick up at least one boundary and a couple of bits and pieces, try and get 8s, try and get 10s, just try and build something. But this is what happened, unfortunately, against Worcestershire last time out. They lost early wickets and then had to try and rebuild. They took too long to do so.
Well, here's Mohammed Nabi, who's coming back into the attack, bowled the first over, which went for just a single. Now he's going to bowl the 8th. So he's been far and away Northamptonshire's most miserly bowler in the competition so far.
Actually, amazingly, they were 38 for 3 after the power play against Worcestershire. 38
really?
For 3 against this after this power play as well.
They could do with that. As you say, just a partnership to regroup, rebuild a little bit here. And now Mohammed Nabi coming in to bowl with 3 men back on the onside boundary. Deep backward square, deep mid-wicket. That's chipped just past the man at mid-wicket, Wayne Parnell. And I think Lewis Hill's heart would have been in his mouth there. It went very close to Parnell. In the end, it goes up to Graham White and they come through for a single. 46 for 3. Hill up to 9. They've got a deep backward square on the boundary, deep mid-wicket on the boundary, and a long on. He bowls to Steele and pushes that out into the offside, and it's fielded by Josh Cobb, who throws down the stumps, knocks out the off stump. If you imagine the right-hander batting at the non-striker's end, A bit of work for umpire Lungley to do to repair the woodwork. Single results, 47 for 3. And Scott Steele up to 15, faced 22 balls. Here's Nabby in again in bright sunshine, beautiful evening now. And that's worked into the onside by Hill, and it's fielded by Rob Keogh, coming in from deep mid-wicket, where he's already held a couple of catches to dismiss Joss Inglis and Aaron Lilly. And another single. 10 to Hill, 48 for 3. Steele facing this ball, driven down to long off this time, and it's Tom Taylor just in front of us who fumbles, and as a result they're able to come through for 2. That should have been just a straightforward single. As it is, Taylor didn't pick it up cleanly, and that's the 50 up for Leicestershire off the 4th ball of the 8th over. Nabby in again, bowls, and that goes off the outside edge down to backward point. But it's another single to Scott Steele, who's 18, 51 for 3. Northamptonshire rattling through the overs. Here's Nabby in again, bowls to Hill, who tries to with a reverse sweep, and this could be trouble, and it's hit the stumps at the non-striker's end, and Scott Steele having to scramble back, having come a long way down, thinking about a leg by. It was the throw did hit the stumps, but he was back, he was alert to the danger and managed to get back, but that would have been a most awful way to lose a 4th wicket at a time when you're looking to just regroup a little bit. You could do without a run out. The end of the over, 6 runs off the over, 51 for 3, 8 overs gone. Hill is 10, and Steele, still there despite that little scare, is on 18. That really would have been the most awful waste of a wicket, wouldn't it?
It would. It was curious, wasn't it? He came out from behind the stumps, obviously Vasconcelli picked up, but he kind of threw it, he had to dodge around Hill,
yes,
to get a clear view of the stumps, and he didn't throw it particularly hard. He concentrated on hitting them, because I don't think there was anybody really backing up, and it rather lobbed at the stumps. Had he given it everything, it just have been enough. As it was, that's just got back into his ground. Well, Heldrick is going to have a go from the Bennett end. Just the one from Save Zabe for now. He's a Suffolk boy.
He is, yes.
He's going to come over the wicket, interestingly, to the right-hander. Bowls and just waits for it just outside of stump. Steele dabs it down towards short third man. One of the sounds of summer in these parts is the scream of Lewis Hill shouting no. Echoes around Aylstone, familiar to all the residents, I would imagine. Sent Scott Steele back. In goes Heldrick and bowls, well bowled. Again he cuts Steele off the stumps, off stump, and again it's well fielded at backward point by Zabe with that long blue beer towel or something similar hanging out of the back of his trousers. 2 dot balls to start with for Fred Heldrick. Goes in and bowls, dab down just a little bit finer this time towards the man at short third, who is Mohammad Nabi, who has a few feet to jog away to his left, so always going to be one there. Steele takes it, 19 off 27 for him. Heldrick is in and bowls, holds it back nicely. Hill advances down the wicket, drives, but almost gets the bat underneath, sort of the ball underneath his bat, so it sort of jams along the pitch back down to Heldrick, who's opened his account really nicely. Goes in and bowls a quicker, flatter delivery. Hill goes back and works it out towards deep mid-wicket. Can only take 1, however, does. Moves on to 10 into double figures for Lewis Hill. 143 runs at 23.83 in the competition coming into this game for Hill, as Heldrick goes in and bowls. Back on his stumps goes Steele, wristily whips it out towards deep mid-wicket, but again there's only ever going to be 1. Plenty of cover for Freddie Heldrick, who has conceded therefore just the 3 runs from his first over, and will be quietly rather pleased with that, I suspect.
I think he will, yeah. It was a decent first over from Freddie Heldrick, who picked up the wicket of Ben Rain, again well known in these parts, playing for Durham, and picked up his wicket as his first one in T20 cricket, in first team cricket in fact for Northamptonshire. So he's on the academy. Spent the winter with the Darren Lehman academy in Australia, and he said I think it was a useful exercise, but he said it wasn't all sort of beer and skittles. He had a few issues with his action, and he's come back, worked very hard on it, and Northamptonshire think they've got a little gem there. Well, here's Wayne Parnell coming into the attack, bowling round the wicket to Scott Steele, who splices that away out towards the extra cover boundary. Safe Zabe charges in, couldn't get to it, was in the air a while, but dropped well in front of him, unlike that rather strange one with Ben Curran, who just didn't seem to go for the catch. He was just caught in two minds and held back, and it was in the air a long time anyway. Single results, 21 to Steele, 55 for 3. Leicestershire. Here's Parnell running away from us, round the wicket. Ball short, just tries to dig it into the pitch, and Lewis Hill cracks that away once again out to the extra cover boundary, where it's fielded by Safe Zabe in front of the old scoreboard here, the non-digital one. 56 for 3.
Curiously, although it looks as though it's been here forever, it has actually just been renovated, funnily enough.
It looks very fine. Here's Parnell in again, bowls, and that's just played straight to backward point. And they think, are they going to get a single, because Tom Taylor shied at the stumps. It hit the stumps, it knocked a stump out, but the ball then ricocheted away, and what should have been a dot ball, and they end up getting a single, much to Wayne Parnell's frustration, and possibly much to the umpire's frustration, who for about the third time in as many overs has had to do a major renovation job on the stumps. 57 for 3. Steele up to 22. Here's Parnell again, bowls to Hill. That's a quicker ball. He really dug that one in, and Hill looking to pull, doesn't make contact, goes through to Vasconcelos, keeping wicket in the absence of Adam Rossington, who's been left out by Northamptonshire for this match.
It kind of wasn't a bright piece of cricket from Tom, was it? Because the batsman Hill was sort of well back in his crease. It was a fairly pointless thing to do.
It was. Here's Parnell in again, bowls, and that's hit up towards mid-off, and it's fielded by Josh Cobb on the bounce, and they're able to come through for a single. One more to Hill, 13 to him. 58 for 3. Very pleasant evening. Plenty of high cloud, this sort of speckled fair weather cloud. Very pleasant evening, and
still, isn't it?
It is. Very, very nice. Very little breeze. Here's Parnell in again, bowls to Steele, who looks to try and ramp that one away down to third man. Doesn't make contact. Again goes into the gloves of Vasconcelos. And it's another tidy over, and halfway, 10 overs gone, and Leicestershire won the toss and chose to bat. 58 for 3, which is a bit of a recovery considering they were 25 for 3. Scott Steele has made 22 off 31 balls, and Lewis Hill 13 off 15.
Yeah, they were 50 for 4 against Worcestershire on Sunday, went on to make 156 for 7. I suspect if you offered Leicestershire 156 now, which means another 98 off 10 overs, they might well take it.
I think they would. I think that would be looking at the way that the pitch is played, that would be certainly a competitive score, if not necessarily a winning one.
The pitch at Worcester was pretty good, essentially. Didn't bat brilliantly on it at the top of the order, but as I say, Lewis Hill did bat very well and took full advantage of it. Different sort of pitch, slightly open stance for Hill as Heldrick goes in and bowls to him. Down the wicket he goes, hits high in the air, should be caught, lobbed it straight to Taylor, long off, couldn't have picked him out better if he'd been actually aiming at him, just about waist height to Taylor, took the most comfortable catch, and Hill, having been the hero against Worcester, is not going to be the hero against Northampton tonight. Leicestershire 58 for 4.
Well, again, it's good reward for Freddie Heldrick, who bowled a tidy first over that went for just 3 runs, 3 singles, and you called it, Richard. You said he'll be well happy with that, and his captain certainly would, and it just helped to build a bit of pressure. And it's difficult for a batsman in Lewis Hill's position, isn't it? You're not quite sure whether you've completed the sort of rebuilding process, and you think, well, we've really got to try and crack on now. But the trouble is, it's not really a pitch where you can hit through the ball with any great confidence. And on that occasion, as you say, Tom Taylor just didn't have to move. He just stood there, didn't have to go left, right, back or forward, just stood there and took the catch. And Freddie Heldrick, who picked up a wicket in his 3-over stint up at Durham last week, has got one in his 2nd over this time. And now it's Harry Swindles who comes to the crease for his first. This is his first T20 of the year, I think.
Of the season, indeed. Come in for Louis Kimber, who's having to self-isolate.
There's Heldrick.
Is in and bowls, just turned or attempted to be turned on the leg side by Swindles. Doesn't get anything on it. Taken by Vasconcelos behind the stumps, but wide, of course, signalled. It having just crept down the leg side. Josh Cobb runs across and has a word with Freddie Heldrick, because I don't know how Cobb will. I don't think he'll have any memories of Swindles. Swindles, relatively. Although he's been around at Leicestershire since he's been a boy, really. I can't imagine Josh, who's been away now for the best part of, well, certainly 5 years. Well, I don't have had many dealings with him. However, he's changed his leg side field, having seen that shot. In goes Heldrick and bowls. Attempt to turn it off the stumps. It lobs in the air just wide of Heldrick, between Heldrick and mid-wicket, and could easily have gone to one or t'other. Swindles gets away with it, picks up 1. Went far too early at it, so the ball holding up in the pitch as well as turning a little bit. Heldrick is in. It's Fuller this time, driven by Steele. Very straight. Taylor has to run around from long off. Throws down to the wicket keeper. Far end, so no chance for Steele to turn for the second. He moves on to 23 off 32 balls. Leicestershire 61 for 4. What might be competitive, hard to say for sure. Heldrick is in, bowls again. Fuller and waits for it. Swindles and turns it out towards deep backward square. Has to come running in current to meet the ball. Does so. Again, just a single. That's all Heldrick has conceded in terms of run scoring so far. Just ones, and he's also picked up a wicket. In he goes and bowls. All Steele can do is reach forward and just turn his wrist on it, push it back up the pitch to the young leggy, who tosses the ball from hand to hand. In he goes and bowls. It's a little bit shorter this time, so it's pulled hard. He was able to go back and pull it out towards deep mid-wicket, who doesn't take it at the first attempt. The batsmen think about it briefly, but the throw comes in and Steele can only pick up the single. So 4 singles from the over, plus the wide, but crucially perhaps, plus the wicket. 63 for 4 at the end of it.
I see Josh Cobb, this is actually his 7th season at Northamptonshire. Yes, he's moved across the Great Divide in 2015.
Yeah.
And a lot was made then questioning whether he was the first Leicester Tigers supporter to be playing for Northamptonshire. I haven't talked rugby with him. I don't know if he's been turned, as it were, and now supports the Saints. But
I suspect not.
I don't think he would admit to it anyway. Well, it's going to be Graham White, who's back into the attack. He's bowled 2 very tidy overs at the start, bowled the 3rd and the 5th, and picked up the wicket of Josh Inglis. Big wicket, 2 overs, 1 for 7 for Graham White so far. Who, as we said, is now on his own in 2nd place in Northamptonshire's all-time T20 wicket takers list. And he's bowling round the wicket and bowling to Scott Steele, who's been there since the start. He's battling away, just plays that to backward point, and there's no run. 24 off 35 balls now for the former Durham man.
He was averaging 32 coming into the game, so heading for that way.
Here's White in again, round the wicket, bowls to him, and he's gone aerial, and he's coming down towards us, and he's got hold of that, and that's 6. Down to the front of the David Gower suite, down to our left, and that's a good hit from Scott Steele. Made his mind up early, came down the pitch, and cleared the boundary by a good 10 yards, I would have thought. So, welcome injection of runs into the Leicestershire total. 69 for 4, 30 to Steele. That's down the leg side, and it's called a wide by umpire Tom Lungley. taken by Ricardo Vasconcelos, who spent a long time before the start of the match out there with head coach David Ripley, just practicing his keeping. White in again, bowls to Steele, who just dabs that down towards backward point. Short third man really, and it's fielded by Mohammed Nabi.
Yeah, very disconcerting little session that was as well, because he was sporting very brightly coloured undies over the top of his blue, navy blue T20 trousers.
Yes, they are somewhat disconcerting. There is a name for them that refers to a well-known caged bird, but we won't go there. 71 for 4. It's even worse when they do post-match interviews wearing them, believe me. Here's White in again, bowls to Swindles this time, and he turns that one away off his stumps, having come right across his stumps, plays it down towards backward square, and they're able to come through for a single, fielded by Freddie Heldrick coming in from the boundary. Graham White just throwing up his hands again, thinking if Swindles had missed, there would have been a loud appeal, I think. Here's White in again, bowls to Steele, cuts that away out to the cover boundary, where it's fielded by Ben Curran. And again they come through for a single. 32 to Steele, 73 for 4. 10 off this over so far, which is more what Leicestershire need if they're going to get a 160, 170 perhaps. White in again, bowls to Swindles, who works that one away into the onside. They think about a second and they're going to come back for 2, and that's good running. It's good purposeful running. They went for 2 straight away. Zabe is quick to the ball.
A moment. He's bowling beautifully. 2 overs, 1 4 8 as he goes in and bowls to Steele. Drops a little bit short. Short-armed pull by Steele off the back foot. Juggled at deep mid-wicket on about the third bounce and gets his throw away. It will be just the 1 to Steele, whose run score is beginning to catch the number of balls he's faced for 33 off 39. Swindles 5 off 4 as Heldrick goes in, bowls to him, tosses it up well outside off stump, swiped rather from well outside off stump down towards wide long on by Swindles. It comes running in from the boundary, and it will be just the single again. And again, Heldrick yet to concede more than 1 per offer delivery. Well, wides notwithstanding, in he goes and bowls, driven, but without any real conviction or aggression by Steele. Gently almost out towards Taylor at long off, who comes running in, picks it up on the edge of the circle. 78 for 4.
Plays his club cricket for Copdock and Old Ipswichians in Suffolk.
There's a Copdock interchange, isn't there, on the A14?
Yes, I think it's
there you go.
May well be the same place.
Trips to Portman Road, I remember. In goes Heldrick and bowls. Again, Swindles works it from outside off stump out towards deep mid-wicket. Takes 1. And been, used to be there and be sent there an awful lot. That was a tedious drive home along the A14. In goes Heldrick and bowls down the wicket. Goes Steele, whacks it back, and Heldrick does brilliantly, stops it as he hit it pretty much straight back to him along the ground, but he hit it very, very hard, and Heldrick sort of falling over managed to get 2 hands to it. It burst through them and went a few yards behind him, so Steele still picked up 1. But good work by Heldrick, who has conceded a single from his first 5 balls. In he goes, bowls to Swindles, and it'll be a single from his first 6. Swindles again, just delicate little nudge down towards deep, backward square. Single taken, 13th over done. Foxes 81 for 4. Their run rate then is 6.2. Somebody is going to have to go big, because now they're getting to the point where 6, 8 and over isn't going to be enough to really post anything like a competitive score. You feel, you never know.
No, that's right enough. And of course, saying of the value of the left arm wrist spinner, there just aren't many of them around. I think obviously Tabraiz Shamsi, for South African, who played for Northamptonshire in the T20 3 or 4 years ago. And of course Jake Lintott is playing for Warwickshire, for the Bears at the moment. Bowled very well against Northamptonshire when the 2 sides met at the county ground a couple of weeks ago, but not too many. I'm saying apart from Shamsi, I think the last one to play for Northamptonshire would have been, bowled regularly at least, would have been the great Australian George Tribe back in the 1950s. It was Jack Walsh was the other Australian, played for Leicestershire as well, of course, wasn't there? So, but not too many. Here's Wayne Parnell running in from this end, pavilion end, bowls, and that's uppercut by Swindles down over backward point, and they're able to come through for a couple of runs. It runs down there towards the boundary, fielded by Glover, who hasn't bowled yet this evening. That's 2 to Swindles, 10 to him, 83 for 4. So you've seen very, very little seam. This is Parnell's second over. Here's Parnell in again, bowls round the wicket, and he's gone aerial, and he's going to clear the man at mid-off, and he's going to clear the rope, and he's gone for 6. It's indicated by Josh Cobb as he was running back towards the David Gower suite, and that's again a good positive blow by Harry Swindles. Picks up 6, and well, this probably suggests why we haven't seen a lot of seam this evening. Exactly. As soon as the ball comes onto the bat, it's like thirsty men at the Oasis for the batsman. 16 to Swindles now, and again bowls round the wicket, and this time he's using the pace of the ball to flick that away for 6 more. That's a great shot from Harry Swindles, super execution, heading down towards leg stump, got it outside the line and just flicked it up over fine leg, of course. Is in the circle, and it runs away for 6 rather. Cleared the rope, actually quite comfortably. I think it cleared the screen, didn't it?
Cleared the side screen.
Just lost sight of it for a moment, but it did clear the screen, went into the spectators. 22 to Swindles, 95 for 4, 14 off this over so far. Parnell in again, bowls, and he's going to get more runs here. He's uppercut that away, and that could be 6 as well. It is 6, signalled by umpire Tom Lungley. And again, Parnell putting pace on, bowling short, and Swindles cleverly using that pace and using that elevation to just help the ball on its way, and that's the 100 up for the Foxes. And this has been a very, very good over, comfortably the most productive over of the innings.
20 from the first 4 balls.
Yeah, 6, 101 for 4. Here's Parnell in again, bowls to Swindles, cuts out towards the boundary. He's only going to get a single this time as Ben Curran is quick to the ball, sends in his return, so that's 1 to Swindles, goes up to 29, and the Foxes to 102 for 4, so 21 off the over so far, 1 ball left, and all of a sudden Leicestershire have got a bit of momentum here. Here's Parnell bowling to Scott Steele, again short, and he cuts it this time. It's a dot ball, can't beat the man at backward point, that's Graham White, so a dot ball to finish the over, but plenty of productive deliveries earlier on in it. 21 off it, 102 for 4 at the end of the over, 14 gone. Swindles 29 off 13 balls, terrific contribution from him. And Scott Steele, who's anchoring the innings, 35 not out to him off 42 balls, and Parnell 2 overs for 25.
Yeah, his work with the ball may be done for now.
I think you're right.
But as I was saying, needed something like this desperately, Leicestershire. Swindles, there'll be Leicestershire fans no doubt saying, where have you been, Harry Swindles? First appearance of the season, 3 consecutive 6s off Wayne Parnell. Funnily enough, I remember Mark Cosgrove hitting Wayne Parnell for 5 4s in 7 overs when in a red ball game a couple of years ago. Who would he have been playing for then?
Worcestershire, probably.
Worcester, it was. Yeah. And he was really bowling flat out and bowling very well as well. Cosgrove took him on. In goes Nabby and bowls to Swindles with something of a flourish. Whips it away down towards long on, and on drive of sorts, single taken. Swindles into the 30s, 30 off just 13 balls for Harry Swindles. Steele 35 off 42. Nabby is in, tosses it up to the former Durham man, who can only just push it back down the pitch to Mohammed Nabi, who stops it in his follow through, then sort of holds his side as though he's sort of got a little bit of a side issue, and has a word with his captain. I don't know whether he has got a little bit of a tweak but he bowls so very gently that one can't imagine he's doing too much damage to himself. But a little bit flatter and quicker there, and Steele goes back, forces it out to Taylor at long off. There isn't a mid-off, so assuming you can get bad on ball, there's always a run if you can get it into that gap. Again, Nabi holds his side a little bit. Might just be his last over then, his third. He's only conceded 9 from 2.3. Tosses that one right up. Swindles waits and waits for it, and then at the very last second on the back foot cuts it away down towards third man, who comes in to meet it. Single, well, backward point really in the end, because Heldrick is short third man and he had to move to his right. He didn't get there, but the man at deep backward point came running in. It was just a single. Nabi in, a little bit flatter, dabbed by Steele, but again only as far as Heldrick. He's really struggling, Steele, other than that 1-6 aside, to really get the ball away. That one straight 6, was that off Parnell as well? Can't quite remember.
I think it was.
White.
That's
White. In goes Nabi Bowles, tries the switch hit, doesn't get anything on it, or might just have hit the back of the bat or the pad. Either way, it trickles out into the offside, and there is no run. So a fine over from Nabi after Parnell went the distance, conceded 21. Nabi back to normality, concedes just 3.
Normal service has been
resumed.
resumed.
105 for 4, Leicestershire after 15.
It's Adam Rossington, Northamptonshire's red ball captain, so not playing this evening, doing 12th man duties, running on with caps and obviously bringing a cap on for somebody, and it's going to be Graham White who's back into the attack.
A bit of timber is Adam, isn't he, as he went running off there.
3 overs, 1 for 19.
Goodness me.
Here's Graham White. I'm still marvelling at that second of the 3 sixes that Harry Swindles hit in the previous over, the one that dropped over the sight screen.
Indeed.
Astonishing stroke. Here's White in again, round the wicket, bowls to Swindles. He plays that off an inside edge down to backward square, where it's fielded by Freddie Heldrick, having to come in from the very edge of the circle, and they're able to come through for a single. And Harry Swindles has almost caught Scott Steele up, 32 to Swindles now, off, 16 balls. Steele is 36 off 44. And here's White in again, bowls to Steele. He drives up to long on, where it's fielded by Safe Zabe, and again they pick up a single. Steele to 37, the Foxes to 107 for 4.
Nabi's getting a bit of attention now from the
physio
on the boundary. It is his left sort of hip.
Here's White in again, bowls, and it's a missed stumping. I think he's missed. No, he's got him at the second or third attempt. He came down the pitch, Harry Swindles, looking to hit White over the top. He missed it, and Vasconcelos didn't take it cleanly, and I thought that the chance had gone a-begging, but obviously he was so far down that he just about had time to recover, whip the bails off, and as I say, the second or third attempt, White gets his man. Stumped Vasconcelos, bowled White, and that important little cameo from Harry Swindles is over. 32 off 16 balls, including 3 sixes, but he goes for 32. And the Foxes are 106 for 5. Graham White now has 72 T20 wickets for Northamptonshire, 1 behind David Willey.
Partnership of 48 for the 5th wicket, of which obviously Swindles made 32. He's given the innings a little bit of momentum, but it's been dragged back by Nabi and now White.
Yes, Mohamed Nabi's just having a chat with Barry Goodrian, Northamptonshire's physio, down to our left on the boundary. Here is. It looks to be just the small of his back, isn't it? He's just struggling a little bit.
Left side.
Yeah.
Well, Leicestershire have 4 spinners in their ranks, because the Steele now bowls spin as well. So,
well,
I think it's going to be one of those nights.
I think it is. It'll be a fascinating game. New batsman is Rishi Patel, and he's facing his first ball from Graham White, and short, and he cuts that away out to the man sweeping on the cover boundary, Ben Curran, and they're able to come through for a single, so Patel's away straight off. 108 for 5, and we're in the 16th over. 2 balls to go in the 16th, so 4 left after this. Is White round the wicket, bowls to Steele, and he just punches that away off the back foot. And once again it goes out to Ben Curran in that sweeper position on the cover boundary, and they're through for an easy single. One more to Steele, 38 to him, 109 for 5. So 4 singles off the over plus the wicket. Can White finish off well? Bowls to Patel, and he has finished it off well, just playing it down behind square, just next to the umpire Peter Hartley, fielded by Freddie Heldrick. Has to run round from that position, saving one on the 45-degree angle. So 5 singles and a wicket off the over for Graham White, 110 for 5. Leicestershire off 16 overs, Scott Steele 38, and Rishi Patel has made 2. And Graham White's finished his work for the evening with the ball at least, 4 overs, 2 for 24.
This is a bit of a first then for Freddie Heldrick. He's going to bowl his 4th over.
Yes.
He's going to bowl his maximum allocation. And he is going to continue to bowl from the Bennett end, but bowling to Rishi Patel. In he goes, bowls. Patel hits out towards long on, should be caught, and is just lifted it straight out to long on, who had to run in 3 or 4 paces. In the end, caught it about a foot off the ground. Graham White is the catcher, and the Steelbacks continue to nibble away at this Leicestershire, this faltering Leicestershire innings. It's 110 for 6.
I have to say, Richard, what you feel.
Batting, is it?
Well, it's not, but what is extraordinary about this game so far, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the second innings, is the fact that as soon as there's any pace on the ball, the batsmen are just. It looks like a really good track, and as proved with that huge over 21 off Wayne Parnell, and as soon as he gave Swindles any pace on the ball to work with, then he went round the park. And
yeah.
Tom Taylor's first over went for 11. If you take out those 2 overs, that's 32 from 2 off the seamers. Pretty much the rest of it has been spin, and as soon as it's pace off, it's really, really hard. And it's like you say, it's hard to say what sort of par score will be.
You can't help feeling they're going to need at least another 30.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a different thing, isn't it? When you're batting, chasing a small score, you can work it
yes,
around. You
absolutely.
don't have to take the chances. Heldrick is in, back and slogging, really, slapping the ball into the ground. There was an air of desperation about that shot from Scott Steele. All he could do was hit it down into the ground, and Heldrick, falling away to his right, made the stop. Dot ball. Steele remains on 38 off 49 balls. Heldrick is in. He drives. This time Steele again, not much foot movement. It was a fuller delivery though, so he's able to get it out along the ground through a very straight and vacant mid-off out towards Taylor, who comes running in from long off. Yeah,
Northamptonshire found that when they were only chasing 130 against Lancashire at Northampton last Friday night. They were just able to push it and nudge it around.
Yeah, and Worcester did that a little bit. D'Oliveira and Libby in particular against Leicestershire, they knew they didn't have to take too many risks, could just pick up the 6s and 7s and over the odd boundary, and they were well up with the run rate. So a couple of late wickets didn't really make too much difference. 111 for 6 is Heldrick, goes in and bowls down the leg side. Oh goodness me, that misses the stumps by very, very little indeed. Well, he stepped right across Ben Mike. In fact, he's looking back at the umpires if it should be signalled wide, but
it went over the top of leg stump.
How it didn't flick the top of leg stump, or he thinks it went just to the side of it. I think it just went over the corner. Anyway, not a wide. Heldrick is in. Mike swings mightily, but rather bottom edges it as he pulls it out towards a deep backward square. Takes the single. 112 for 6. I wonder what the lowest score is in T20 for a batsman opening the batting facing the first ball and batting through, as that one is full from Heldrick, and Steele clips it not very convincingly out towards deep mid-wicket and takes 1. End of the over, 113 for 6, just the 3 runs and a wicket. So Freddie Heldrick finishes with 4 overs, no maidens, 2 for 17. I confidently say that is his best bowling in.
You are entirely correct, Richard. No, he'll be very happy with that, and I'm sure David Ripley will be, and Josh Cobb as well. He's done an excellent job this evening. Bowled with good control, a lot of confidence. I think that that little outing up at Durham has really boosted his confidence. He said as much after, when I had a chat with him after the game, and just to be brought into the setup, and it's good. It sends out the right signals to other Northamptonshire players on the academy as well, that if they perform, then there's going to be opportunities for them. Here's Mohammed Nabi, 3 overs for 10 so far, so he's going to be finishing his stint, and he concedes a single off the first ball, driven up to long off by Scott Steele, fielded by Tom Taylor. Down in front of us, one more to Steele, who goes up to 41, and the Foxes to 114 for 6. It's a good question you ask about the opener. I can think of one or two players in county cricket of a slightly earlier vintage who would have seen it as a badge of honour to have batted right through 20 overs, but it's not the modern way, let's put it that way. Here's Nabi in again, bowls full toss, and that's clubbed away by Ben Mike for 4. It pretty much got what it deserved. He got Safe Zabe out there on the long on boundary, and he's just about the quickest man over the ground in the side, but he couldn't get anywhere close to that. And that was a little bit of a gift for Ben Mike, who did not
took the pitch out of the equation.
Well, yes, he didn't look that particular gift horse in the mouth. Hit it away for 4. 118 for 6 is Nabi. Puts that one into the pitch, and he's going to be caught at backward point, and he is. Went for a big hit over mid wicket and just got a thick outside edge, looped away to Wayne Parnell at backward point, who took the simplest of catches. So another wicket for Mohammed Nabi. Mike goes for 5, caught Parnell, bowled Nabi, and Leicestershire continuing to toil here. As Richard was saying, they just need somebody to take the game by the scruff of the neck and hit a quick 20 or 30, but the trouble is, at the moment, that's really as easier said than done when the pace is off the ball. At the moment, it's all about Northamptonshire's spinners. It's Nabi's first wicket of the innings, but he's bowled very, very tidily. I think he's on 1 for 15 now in his last over. Coming to the crease is Callum Parkinson. And Mohammed Nabi is going to be bowling to him, 118 for 7. All this on a glorious evening here in Leicester. Bright sunshine as Nabi in. Loops that one up to Parkinson, who drives up towards long on. It's in the air for a little while, but it's safe enough. It goes up to Zabe, who comes in off the boundary to field, and Parkinson's off the mark straight away. 1 to him, 119 for 7. 2 balls to go in this over, the 18th. And Nabi once again, barring something unusual, is going to finish with some very, very tidy figures indeed. Driven by Scott Steele out towards the cover boundary, and Ben Curran has a little bit of ground to make up, and he sends in his return to Nabi, and they're able to come through for a couple. Steele up to 43. I certainly can't remember a batsman, what is he, 43 now, getting to a 50, having opened in the 18th, 19th over. It's very unusual, as you say. Is Steele facing this one from Nabi? Cracks that up to extra cover, just picks out Josh Cobb on the bounce, and there's no run, and Nabi finishes off with another dot ball. 4 overs, no maidens, 1 for 18, and that's going to pull. He's saying he's far and away Northamptonshire's most economical bowler in the competition this season. He was going at 6.2 before this evening's game. Well, that's going to have come down a bit. 4 overs, 1 for 18, and with 18 overs gone, Leicestershire 121 for 7. Steele is 43, Parkinson 1.
Yeah, we're 5 point something or other now. Mike Jelfs is in the ground, arrived at the major sporting event tonight, says Mike, having sent us a picture from the popular seats. Good evening to you, good evening to Springsteen as well. Everybody beginning to tune in now the footy's done, essentially. Had them both on. A honeybee settle, a genuine honeybee, not a bumblebee.
Oh, it is,
settles on the railings in front of us, cleaning itself off. Pace is back. Brave decision. Tom Taylor is in from the Bennett end, and Callum Parkinson stands up tall, carves him away towards backward point. Calls for the second, is sent back by Scott Steele. and doesn't look over impressed with that. Callum Parkinson, he feels he was running to the danger end. He was, in that the throw came in to Vasconcelos, the wicket keeper. But Parkinson, no, he's just adjusting his various accoutrements.
Parkinson almost
beginning to rub his.
He almost ran the second because he ran 2 halves, didn't he? He came halfway down and to run halfway back again.
Had Steele gone straight away. However, 122 for 7. Steele on strike on 43 off 54 balls. Just 11 balls left in the innings. Taylor is in. Bowls to him. He leans back to a shorter ball, ramps it down to third man. Bounces a long way short of the field. It bounces 3 or 4 times. Indeed, before it reaches third man, gets his throwaway. Single taken by Steele. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7.
Nathan Buck is on as substitute for Nabby.
I thought that was Bucky.
Yeah, it is.
Well, not his day, not his pitch. Parkinson raises his bat as his old teammate comes down the slope and bowls to him. He pulls in the air, just top edges it slightly. High towards mid-wicket, deep mid-wicket, comes running up to get to the ball, does so when it's bounced 3 or 4 times. Parkinson takes 1. 1, 2, 4, 4, 7. Steele back on strike, 44 off 55. I'll wager that an opening batsman hasn't batted through in T20 and not made 50.
Somebody will know.
Surely. Do let us know if you can search the cricket archives. In goes Taylor and bowls. Steele is bowled. Loses his middle stump to a very full delivery. It was well bowled by Tom Taylor. Steele stepped across, whether he saw him stepping across to know, but he bowled a very full, almost a Yorker on middle stump. Couldn't get his bat underneath the ball, and Steele is gone. Bowled his long, well, you can almost say vigil. Not often you can use the word
T20,
no. But maybe we could have done tonight. Steele goes for 44 off, was it in the end 56 balls?
55 or 56.
55 or 56. I make it 56.
Yeah, that sounds...
2 fours and a 6.
Sounds entirely plausible. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And only time will tell whether he's going to be the hero or the villain tonight, because... it may be.
Yeah, it could be a winning.
It may turn out to be a match-winning innings if Northamptonshire's batting, which has, let's face it, in this competition been a little fragile this year. If they make a hash of the chase and the Leicestershire bowlers get on top from early on, but at the moment you can't help but think it may be a little bit below par, this score.
Yeah, and as I say, it's so much easier when you know you've only got so many to get that you don't have to take risks. Leicestershire kept hitting the ball in the air. 2 fielders. Taylor is into Gavin Griffiths, who gets a slightly shorter of a length ball that he turns neatly off his waist out down towards square leg. Everybody comes chasing into the ball. Square leg gets there first, gets his throwaway to Taylor. Griffiths has to be content with 1. 1, 2, 5 for 8. A rather plaintive chant from Stench of Leicestershire, la la la. As we say, never quite sure until we've seen both sides bat, but at the moment you'd have to say Northants Steelbacks very much the favourites. Taylor is in to Parkinson, a slow bouncer down the leg side, should be signalled wide, and is. Parkinson tried to swing it away, didn't get anything on it. Vasconcelos dived away to his left. Umpire Hartley steps back from the stumps and signals wide to Tony and Paul in the scorer's box. Away to the right as we sit on top of the pavilion. They're in their usual place, the scorer's box. We're in our usual place on top. The Northants side in the usual, I think they're in the home dressing room essentially, because Leicestershire changing in the meet. Taylor is in, bowls full, driven in the air, just short of mid-off by Parkinson. In the end, Josh Cobb made a decent stop, because I thought it could so easily have gone underneath him there. Managed to stop it almost on the half volley. It was hit low and hard and flat in the air for a long way by Parkinson, just short of Cobb. As I say, he made the stop, Josh. End of the over, 127 for 8 at the end of it. So 6 runs from the over, but also a wicket.
I was just thinking, Richard, that's discussion we were having about whether Scott Steele's innings will seem to be a potentially a match-winning effort. I thought back and I just managed to find the match in question. Northamptonshire played Glamorgan in the quarter-finals of the old Nat West down at St Helens in Swansea back in 1992. Yeah, they went on to win it, and Rob Bailey batted almost the entire innings, 60 overs for 98 not out. And I remember some of the Northamptonshire supporters who were down there, and heaven knows what social media would have made if such a thing existed in 1992, were saying, oh, you know, he's cost us the game, batted too slowly. He came in, Northampton got 224 for 8 and bowled Glamorgan out for 140, and suddenly everybody was saying what a super innings that was. You know, good awareness of the match situation and the conditions. So these things, as I say, you only really know when both sides have batted. As Richard says, well, it's Wayne Parnell to bowl the last over of the innings, and that's dinked away by Callum Parkinson, who has benefited to the tune of 4 runs, came right across his stumps, and very much in the same way that Harry Swindles did to Parnell, just helping that down to long leg. But in Parkinson's case, he actually swung himself off his feet. Finishes up on his backside, somewhere in the region of where Silly Point would be.
Exactly.
But it goes for 4, 8 to Parkinson, 131 for 8, and Wayne Parnell, the last over he bowled, went for 21, including 3 sixes. He's bowled, 2.1 overs, 0 for 29 so far. Here's Parnell in again, bowls to Parkinson short, it's gone straight up in the air, he's going to be caught by somebody, and he is. He's caught at extra cover by Brandon Glover. Glover takes the catch, ball went straight up in the air, Parkinson looking to pull it, and so Parnell does pick up a wicket for his pains, and Parkinson goes for 8, and Leicestershire 131 for 9 in the last over. Simple catch there for Brandon Glover, who hasn't done any bowling this evening, and I would imagine he'll be very much hoping that he doesn't have to do any batting, because with all due respect to Brandon, if he's batting then Northamptonshire will be in trouble. I think question of whether him and Freddie Heldrick might presumably be tossing for 10 and 11, or though certainly in academy cricket Heldrick's not a bad batsman at all. Well, here's Naveen ul Haq coming to the crease and taking his guard from umpire Lungley. 131 for 9. Parnell picking up his first wicket of the evening, only the second wicket that's gone to a seamer, and the first one of those was in the previous over when Tom Taylor uprooted Scott Steele's middle stump. Here's Gavin Griffiths facing, as the batsman crossed while the ball was in the air, and that's clipped away down to Rob Keogh at deep mid-wicket, and they come through for a single. So Griffiths goes up to 2, 132 for 9. And now Naveen is going to be facing. You can't impress Mohammed Nabi on the field at the moment because Nabi's off, having just picked up some sort of strain when he's finished his bowling stint. So Nathan Buck is still on. Here's Parnell in again. Bowls to Naveen, who's gone. Huge pull, and it's going to be 6. It is 6 to the front of the meet. Rob Keogh was circling back, thinking that he might just about get under it, but he couldn't. The ball just kept going, and it landed just short of the covers in front of the meet where the Leicestershire players are changing. So plenty of applause for that one, as you might imagine. 138 for 9, useful runs. And Naveen with a remarkable strike rate now of 600. 1 ball, 6 runs. 2 balls to go.
Parnell at 1 for 36 from 2.4.
Well, here's Parnell in again. Bowls to Naveen, who's driven up to mid-off, and he's caught by Josh Cobb, and that's the end of the innings. So Parnell picks up 2 wickets in an otherwise quite expensive over, but Naveen goes caught by Cobb. Straightforward catch at mid-off, off the bowling of Wayne Parnell for 6. So 6 and out, as we used to play in the back garden. Gavin Griffiths is not out 2, and Leicestershire all out for 138. Off 19.5 overs, and well, remains to be seen whether that is woefully short, just short, competitive, or a winning score. We shall find out. Anything could happen, as they used to say in Thunderbirds, in the next 2.25 hours or whatever.
One feels it may be the latter, as in woefully short. Lots of congratulations between the Northamptonshire fielders, but knowing that you only have to score at 6 or 7 runs and over. 6 and over will do nicely, really, for the first 10 or so. Don't have to make any big hits. Certainly the ball very much in Northamptonshire's court. 1 feels disappointing from the Leicestershire point of view. Scott Steele made 44, but he made it off 55 balls. The only really outstanding innings was Harry Swindles, who hit Wayne Parnell for Welcome back to the Uptonsteel County Ground. Floodlights beginning to come into play, although the sun is still just about out. There's a little bit of white cloud around, away to the west as well, in which direction the running fox on the weather vane has his snout pointed at the moment, but it's very still around the ground. Slightly stunned feeling as the foxes subsided rather in their innings, and as a consequence you feel Vasconcelos and Curran, well, they can be circumspect if you like, and see what happens, just work the bowling around for a while. They don't have to do anything too, well, extrovert. Scott Steele is going to open the bowling for Leicestershire from the pavilion end. Bowls outside off stump. He's cut away through the covers. A good diving stop by Naveen there. I say diving stop. He did get a hand to it, the Afghan, as he dived away to his left and managed to take a lot of the pace off the ball. Harry Swindles, Josh English's keeping wicket, as I predicted, completed the fielding. Bowls very short, cut hard into the ground by Ricardo Vasconcelos, but only as far as Naveen, who shakes his hand. Missed out a bit there, Vasconcelos, because that one sat up outside off stump. Steele bowls, he goes for the cut again, misses. That was a much better delivery, fuller, and it bounced and just over the top of the flashing blade of Vasconcelos. And having posted a slip in the person of Rishi Patel, Ackerman decides to send him back out 2 point. Bowls, pushes it on with the arm that time. Steele goes back, Vasconcelos, and works it off his pads out towards deep mid wicket. Aaron Lilly is the fielder down there, single taken, 3 then off the first 4 balls. We'll try and hurry through these overs, but Curran also a left-hander. You'll have to wait for him to take his guard from umpire Longley. Baseball cap on. Inglis sends Swindles a little bit deeper as in goes Steele. Bowls to Curran, slightly short outside off stump. Clipped away, it didn't get up very high, just worked it away off from outside off stump, Curran, and down towards Lilly at deep mid wicket. Took one, slipped as he turned, thinking about the second. There never was a second, but even so, picks himself up a bit gingerly, tosses that one up, driven. Vasconcelos drives it out towards Swindles, who dives away to his right at short extra and makes the stop. This is going to be quite a quick game if we're going to get through these overs very quickly. Steelbacks after 1 over are 4 without loss.
It's an important innings this for Ben Curran. It's only his 6th T20 appearance for Northamptonshire, and his first for a couple of years. He didn't play at all in T20 cricket last year or so far this year. He's, I know, very keen to make a mark in white ball cricket. So he was, in fact, these two, Vasconcelos and Curran, were chosen by David Ripley as being the red ball opening pair this year, and that was the case until Curran, after a string of low scores, was left out, and Emilio Gay came into the side and immediately helped himself to 100 down at Canterbury against Kent in Northamptonshire most recent championship match. Here's Colin Ackerman starting his work for the evening with the ball, bowling round the wicket to Curran, who tries to give himself room, plays it into the offside. It goes to backward point, and there's no run, so 4 off the first over. The target 139. Here's Ackerman in, bowls to Curran, who drives nicely, and man in there at short extra cover just slips a little bit, and they're able to come through for a couple of runs. Tight in there, saving 1, but he just fielded on the edge of the square, just slipped, and they're able to come through for 2. So 3 to Curran, And Northamptonshire to 6 for no wicket. As Richard said, this could be a very, very quick game, one way or the other. As Ackerman again bowls, big swing from Ben Curran, who just takes it on the... Well, he must have got some bat on it, which is why it wasn't given, because there's no signal from umpire Peter Hartley. Went for a big wahoo, I think is the only stroke you can think to describe it as. I think deep mid wicket might have been in business if he got hold of it. As it was, it just goes off a bottom edge for a single. 7 for no wicket. Ackerman in. Bowls to Vasconcelos, who drives uppishly out away through extra cover. There's a man back on the boundary at long off, and they keep it to a single. 1 more to Vasconcelos. 4 to him. 8 for no wicket. Vasconcelos, Northampton's leading run scorer in the competition so far this season. 232 runs. Here's Ackerman again, bowls to Curran, who just dabs that down on the onside. We may see a bit of that. He just been able to pick up an easy single as Ben Mike has to make some ground. Running round from just the other side of the square leg umpire. 9 for no wicket. Curran to 5. Ackerman in again to Vasconcelos, who drives up to extra cover. And again, they come through for a single, shy at the stumps, but fortunately there is somebody backing up. So they're able to come through for the single and don't pick up any additional runs from overthrows. End of the over, 10 for no wicket. Northamptonshire 5 to each batsman. And I have to say, Richard, I've been taken to task and I must hang my head in shame. And I'm gutted. Phil Curtis sent me a message to say that my reference to about anything could happen in the next hour and a quarter. And I said it was Thunderbirds when it used to be anything could happen in the next half hour, and he's quite correctly pointed out it wasn't Thunderbirds, it was Stingray. So I apologise, Phil, you're absolutely right, and I shall go and write out 100 lines. I must not confuse my Jerry Anderson animation series at the end of the game.
Callum Parkinson is going to take over from Scott Steele at the pavilion end. Left arm spin over the wicket. Bowls, drops a little bit short, is pulled out to backward square for 4 by Vasconcelos. Moves on to 9. I remember him getting a leg before decision at Wantage Road against Leicestershire that he wasn't overly pleased about, Ricardo Vasconcelos, so I think he's going to enjoy it if he is able to hang around for a while and make a score.
Yes, Naveen got him, didn't he?
He didn't think he was out, I don't think. He was surprised at the decision anyway. He's moved on to 9 off 8. Steelbacks 14 without loss. Parkinson in again to him again. He drops short again. He's pulled in the air. Could have been caught. Not caught. Dropped. One-handed leap to his right at backward square. Got a big right hand to it. Waiting to see him pick himself up. I think could be Ackerman. It's Lewis Hill. It's Hilly. He dived away to his right like a goalkeeper trying to save a penalty. Got his right hand to it. They need those to stick the Foxes if we're going to have any chance in this match. It didn't. Vasconcelos picks up a couple. Parkinson into him again. Hits him high over mid-wicket. Lily's underneath it. Can't get there. It goes over his head and drops 3 or 4 feet over the ropes. He got there, Lily, but nothing he could do about it. It had just enough on it. A nice pickup by Vasconcelos. Having said that Northants don't have to take the bowling on, they can just work it around Vasconcelos, and Curran are going for their shots anyway. In goes Parkinson and bowls, and that one is defended off stump by Vasconcelos out into the offside. Swindles comes running in from extra cover, and it is a dot ball. He's moved on to 17 off 11, 22 without loss as Parkinson is in. Bowls, he looks to turn it into the leg side. He has got it down towards fine leg. It's going to run away for 4. Just a little inside edge. Griffiths, who was up at short fine, was in pursuit, couldn't get there or chased it back down. And this is proving an extremely remunerative over as far as the Steelbacks are concerned. Already 16 from it. And one of those is a dot ball. Still a ball to come. Parkinson in again to Vasconcelos. Looks to turn him in the air towards mid-wicket, just short of Ackerman. And another dot ball. Parkinson's hands go to his chin in disbelief. End of the over. 26 without loss for the Steelbacks. So they've decided to try and do it quickly, or at least give themselves a certain amount of leeway.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, Richard. I think thinking back to the game at Durham, which Northamptonshire won, they're chasing a few more than this. It was 1-5-8 to win. But Vasconcelos and Rossington went out and they hit 66 off 6 overs in the power play, and it just took all the pressure off, and then they really could just nudge it around. Here's Ackerman starting his second over, and that's worked away by Ben Curran up to wide mid-on for a single, 27 for no wicket. Curran up to 6. Here's Ackerman round the wicket again, bowling this time to Vasconcelos. Just turns him round a little bit. Again, it's just held in the pitch. It went down off just a hint of a leading edge. Safely enough down the pitch, but a dot ball. Ackerman already back at the end of his mark. Bowls short and Vasconcelos pulls, and that's 4. That was a bit of a long hop. And Vasconcelos, who's not the tallest around, like most shorter batsmen, shorter of stature, pulls and cuts well. And he latched onto that short ball and pulled it away just behind square for 4. 25 to him. And Northamptonshire up to 31 for no wicket. So a positive start from these two and from Vasconcelos in particular. Here's Ackerman. And again, flights that one up. Vasconcelos goes over the top and spears it over. Again, wide mid-off for 4. And that was a super shot. Again, he moved well to the ball, moved to the pitch of it, and hit through it. And was aware of the fact that he got a long off back on the boundary, but he hit it well out of his reach. And it speared away for 4. That will feel pretty quick considering there's been a bit of rain around. 35 for no wicket. Vasconcelos to 29. Facing this ball from Ackerman, turns it away for a single, just to backward square where it's fielded there by Gavin Griffiths on the edge of the circle. 35 for no wicket. Vasconcelos to 30 off 17 balls. There's Ackerman bowling this time to Curran, who just drops it down on the onside, and they come through for a single as it's fielded there by Ben Mike from his fielding position just behind square. And that's the end of another pretty productive over for Northamptonshire. 11 runs off it, 37 for no wicket off 4. Vasconcelos has made 30 of those, and Ben Curran has made 7. And Northamptonshire now needing 102 more runs off 16 overs with all wickets in hand.
And Ackerman shakes his head and is cross with Ben Mike at the moment, a little bit cheesed off with Ben Mike for allowing that single, but in the context of what's going on, I think it's a fairly minor irritation. He's turning to Naveen or Hack and seeing if, pace didn't really work for Northamptonshire. It was spin that worked for them. Well, spin hasn't worked so far for the Foxes, so perhaps Naveen's mixture of pace and slower balls will do the trick, but he hasn't got any cover really other than at deep square, deep backward square, and deep extra cover. In he comes and bowls to Curran, who should be caught, just chips it into the air straight to mid-wicket. Comfortable catch for Lewis Hill, and Naveen, who is the top wicket taker in the country, or at least one of them, may now be out there on his own. He's picked up a wicket with his very first ball.
Yeah, and that, in a nutshell, is rather what's been happening to Ben Curran in red ball cricket this year. He just gets himself in and then goes for maybe an option that he didn't need to go for, and gets out. And he'll be very disappointed, and though he's very conscious of the fact that he's been given an opportunity here, and presumably he'll be given it won't just be the one game. I imagine he'll probably play tomorrow night as well, but depending presumably on what happens this evening. But yeah, missed out there. And you think when a new bowler comes on, they always tell you at school, don't they, just have if you possibly can, take a couple of balls just to have a look. We all know that Naveen's got loads of different clever variations, and that was just
that was one of them. It was a slower ball.
Well, it was a slower ball.
Pace off it, just enough, didn't he?
Yeah, but it wasn't a great stroke anyway. Ben Curran sadly missing out this evening. He goes for 7, sadly from a Northamptonshire point of view, of course, for Leicestershire. It's given him an in, and Josh Cobb comes to the crease for his first innings in T20 cricket for a couple of weeks.
He won't be on strike, however. It was chipped straight to mid-wicket, was in the air long enough for the batsman to cross. So Vasconcelos, who retakes his guard from umpire Lungley, is going to be facing Naveen, who is in and bowling, edged and caught! Authentic delivery, pushed across the left-hander, just swung away, took the edge, and a good diving catch by Josh English, and Naveen ul Haq has picked up 2 in 2. He's on a hat-trick. Suddenly the Foxes' spirits raise. Suddenly they are back in the game. It's 37 for 2.
Well, you can hear Sir Geoffrey Boycott, what he always says, add 2 wickets and see how it looks. And Northamptonshire apparently cruising along, and as you say, that was a legitimate wicket, really, wasn't it? It was a good ball. Vasconcelos wasn't looking to do anything too cute with it. He got a thickish edge, and that was a terrific catch by Josh Inglis, who took off and held it in his left glove, low to the ground. And Naveen, 0.2 overs, 2 for 0 on a hat-trick. Rob Keogh to face it.
Well, I was saying to Adam Whitty back in the studio beforehand that Naveen, although he is the top wicket taker in T20 in the country, hadn't really produced a definitive match-winning performance. Perhaps this is going to be it. It would be an extraordinary one to win. Now, Ackerman, for the hat-trick delivery, has posted 2 slips. Patel has gone in at first, Ackerman himself at second. He's still going to have the 2 men, just 1 man out at the moment, or is he going to come in as well? It's Scott Steele who's out there at square leg. No, he's the only one out there. 2 slips go down as Naveen ul Haq goes in to bowl to Rob Keogh outside off stump, driven along the ground. Good diving stop by Lewis Hill at extra cover. A dot ball. Ackerman comes running out of second slip, so not a hat-trick on this occasion for Naveen ul Haq, but we had a double wicket maiden to start the campaign. It was bowled by Gavin Griffiths against Lancashire up at Old Trafford for the Foxes. Certainly could do with 1, if not more, in this game. Naveen, as is his wont, likes to fiddle with his field, and he's sending Steele across from mid-wicket out into the covers, having seen that off drive from Keogh, who waits with bat race. Still got to slip in, Naveen, as he goes in and bowls down the leg side. There's an appeal for a catch behind, but it's immediately, as he turns, signalled wide, from which you will gather that not only did he not hit it, didn't hit anything at all as it went through to Inglis, diving away behind the stumps. A wide. Steelbacks onto 38 for 2 as a consequence. The delivery will have to be bowled again. Naveen waits, still keeping the slip in. Ackerman has to take wickets, really. If Northants are still batting at the end, they will have got these runs. In goes Naveen and bowls, neatly turned off middle and leg stump almost by Keogh out towards Lilly, who's at deep backwards square. Single taken, so it won't be a double wicket maiden. 39 for 2. I suppose the wide would have not made it a double wicket maiden anyway. Bit noisier though out there. It was a little bit subdued, understandably, at the start of the Northants innings, especially when Vasconcelos was going so well, 37 without loss after 4, but suddenly it's 39 for 2, and you never quite know. The target, remember, just 139, so only another 100 needed. But Duckworth Lewis is showing, with those 2 wickets having fallen, 34, so Steelbacks still ahead of the game, as in goes Naveen and bowled. A slightly flat-footed drive, characteristically flat-footed drive by Josh Cobb, hard down into the ground, out into the offside. Scott Steele is the fielder in the covers, and there's no run.
It was June the 13th that Cobb injured himself when he was batting really well against Notts at Northampton. He got to 50 off 22 balls, then pulled a hamstring, and just about flattened Northamptonshire's hopes of winning that particular game, and he hasn't played since.
We did determined to see this one through if he possibly can. Naveen is in, he bowls, and a horrible big swing and a miss outside off stump, giving himself a little bit of room from Josh Cobb, goes through to Inglis, and there's no run. A fine over from Naveen ul Haq, at the end of which, the 5th over of the innings, Steelbacks 39 for 2, as I say, ahead of Duckworth Lewis, which is now showing 36. Just to give you an idea of where it thinks the game should be, but it does mean the Foxes are still very much in it. Actually, scoreboards are showing different scores, 38 and 39. I don't know whether it missed the Y.
Yeah, I think 39 is. I think 39 is right.
Yes, it is.
So exactly 100 needed by Northamptonshire with 15 overs to go, 8 wickets in hand, and it's going to be Callum Parkinson who bowled the 3rd over to bowl the 6th, last one of the power play, and bowls to Rob Keogh, who just nudges that away through mid-wicket, and they settle for a single. One more to Keogh, who goes up to 2, and Northamptonshire to 40 for 2, having lost Curran for 7 and Vasconcelos for 30 to successive balls off Naveen. Keogh, actually Northamptonshire second highest scorer in the competition this year, 198 runs coming into this match. Top scored with 35 last time out against Yorkshire, and Callum Parkinson bowling there to Cobb, who gets his first run back, as it were, after his long layoff, with a drive out to deep extra cover. One to Cobb, he's off the mark, 41 for 2. And Northamptonshire have obviously missed Josh Cobb with his batting and his bowling, and Keogh just dropping that one down again on the onside out towards mid-wicket, and they're able to come through for a single. Long chase long run in for Aaron Lilly, who's right out there, the furthest corner of the ground, biggest boundary out there at deep mid-wicket, and they're able to come through for an easy single, 42 for 2. Cobb facing as Parkinson finds the edge, just turned enough to find the edge, and it ran down to backward point, and there's no run. Somebody out there with a whistle.
They won't just have missed his sort of skills, but tactically he's pretty aware.
He is, and he's a great.
Days, isn't he?
Well, he's a great studier of stats as well. Is Josh? He's driven up to mid-on, and it was in the air a while. It went on the bounce up to mid-on. Throw hits the stumps at the non-striker's end. Josh Cobb was home. And but the crowd are getting into it a little bit now. There's not too many here tonight. I think they're saying 750 was the maximum. Whether there's quite that many, you would have a much better idea than me.
Well, it looks about that.
They're getting into the game a bit now, aren't they? It was a bit quiet when the wickets were falling earlier on, but now with Northamptonshire having lost 2 in 2 balls, the crowd getting into it. Here's Parkinson in again, bowls to Keogh, who plays that again through mid-wicket. He's just milking Parkinson through there a little bit at the moment. But it's still a tidy over from the left-arm spinner, with 5 singles off it. And at the end of the over, the end of the power play as well, Northamptonshire are 44 for 2. Josh Cobb has made 2 of those, Rob Keogh has made 4, and Callum Parkinson's bowled 2 overs for 21.
Leicestershire were 38 for 3 at the end of their power play. So Northants ahead still at the moment. But going to stay with Naveen, understandably, is Colin Ackerman. He's going to be able to give him a little bit more cover, should he wish, and he does wish. He's sending 3rd man back, also long leg. Cover is on the boundary, and square leg is on the boundary as well, mid-on and mid-off, therefore edge of the circle, as Naveen is in to Keogh. Bowls slightly short of length outside off stump. Keogh dabs it down towards a backward point. Rishi Patel is the fielder. Keogh holds up his bat to Cobb, says no chance. He remains on 4. Cobb has a couple. Josh must be now one of the most successful T20 players, having won it twice with Leicestershire and twice with Northamptonshire. The competition, certainly once with Leicestershire. I think he was in the previous win as well. I think twice with both. As Naveen is into Keogh, a slow bouncer that even English is deceived by, in that it bounces in front of him and he can't take it. But he ducked underneath it and had to wait ducking quite a long time, Rob Keogh, before it just about made it over his back and bounced well short of English, and bounced up, hit English in the chest on the sort of towards the shoulder, judging by where he's just rubbing at the moment, bounced away, and a bye as a consequence was taken. 45 for 2. The arm speed doesn't seem to change when he bowls that bounce. It just must somehow come out of the back of his hand or something.
Extraordinary skills. In
he goes and bowls a slower ball again that is lofted high over mid on, and it's going to bounce down to long on for 4. Had to wait for it, Josh Cobb, outside off stump it was. It was a little bit too full from Naveen, and although he got underneath it, he certainly didn't hit it as clean as he would have liked. With mid-on up on the edge of the circle, it was a reasonably safe shot, landed about halfway between the circle and the ropes, and then with the slope here, such as it is at the Uptonsteel County Ground, it gathered a bit of momentum and ran down for 4. So Cobb on to 6, 49 for 2. Naveen in again. He's got hold of that one all right. Over mid-wicket for 6. That was a fairly conventional short ball in terms of pace, and Cobb's eyes lit up, and it sounded like a rifle shot as it hit the middle of his bat and flew out towards deepish mid-wicket, landed about 2 feet over the ropes. A really nice hit by Josh Cobb. 10 off 2 balls. Steelbacks are past 50, 55 for 2, and having been so successful in his first over, Naveen less so this time. Tends to be what happens with him. He always picks up a couple of wickets, but he always goes for a few as well. He can't resist these variations. What's he going to bowl this time? In he goes. Bowls to Cobb, who top edges it, and it's just wide of Ackerman, running behind the bowler's arm. Put out his left hand and dive, couldn't quite get there. It dropped about a foot away from Leicestershire's captain as he reached out on the edge of the circle. So Cobb living dangerously, as you say.
Could so easily been out, couldn't it? Yeah, Josh Cobb's only had won it once with Northamptonshire in 2016, but he was the first player to be man of the match in 2 domestic T20 finals for Leicestershire in 2011 and then for Northamptonshire in 2016.
Pretty good record. 57 for 2. Cobb 14 off 8. Back on strike as Naveen is in. Bowls to him. He cuts hard down into the ground, but straight to. Then the ball goes to Patel at backward point, and there is no run. An eventful over. 13 runs from it. Could have been out a couple of times, Josh Cobb, but one superb blow over mid-wicket for Joshua James. 57 for 2 after 7.
Yes, and again, just keeping themselves ahead of the game. They just don't want to be having to force the pace later on, but equally what they don't want also is to be losing wickets and putting pressure on having new batsmen coming in, because it's not, I wouldn't think, Richard, the easiest surface to get in on. That was certainly the evidence of the first innings, and again, that innings of Scott Steele's maybe just being put into a little bit of perspective. Well, here's Colin Ackerman, start his 3rd over, 2 overs for 17 so far. He's bowling to Josh Cobb, who drives, and they wait to see if the ball manages to elude the man just in there at mid-wicket, saving one on the edge of the circle, and it does. As a result, it goes out to the man out at long on, and they're able to come through for a single. One more to Keogh, 5 to him, 58 for 2. 81 needed. Quicker ball from Ackerman, fires that one into Josh Cobb, who's on the back foot, playing it back down the pitch for Ackerman to field, and there's no run. Cobb on to 14 already, and he just takes a hand off the bat, clubs it up towards long on, and again he's saying about living dangerously. It wasn't that far away from Ben Mike, I think that is, running in from the long on boundary. It dropped about, 2 or 3 yards in front of him. He took a hand off the bat as he played the stroke. 15 to Cobb, and there's a single to Keogh, just playing it down behind square for a single. Keogh's been good in the T20 this year. He's played some important innings, sometimes in a losing cause. 60 for 2 now. Keogh to 15. Cobb to 6. Cobb is on 15, and he's made that 19. That was a short ball from Ackerman again. Tried that one, just firing in a little bit quicker and trying to dig it into this surface, but just sat up a little bit, and Cobb was able to club it away through mid-wicket with that power that he has. 19 to him off 13 balls, 64 for 2 rather. Here's Ackerman in again, bowls to Cobb, works that down for a single. In fact, he may get 2 as it's gone down towards deep fine leg, and it is 2. Fielded down there by Gavin Griffiths. It just eluding Scott Steele on the edge of the circle, which allowed them to come through for 2, and again without doing anything terribly dramatic, Northamptonshire have managed to get 9 off that over. 21 to Cobb, 6 to Keogh, and with 8 overs gone, Northamptonshire are 66 for 2, and Leicestershire's captain Colin Ackerman 3 overs for 26.
Yeah, not a great attempt at a piece of fielding by Scott Steele there. He went sort of for it with his feet, really, like a footballer, trying to keep the ball in from going out into touch. Couldn't quite manage it. Parkinson comes on to replace Naveen at the pavilion end. Need wickets, the Foxes. 73 needed, almost halfway there already, the Steelbacks, as Parkinson is in. Keogh, lovely straight drive. Ben Mike runs across from long on, feels almost behind the bowler's arm, throws to the bowler, but it's slightly wide, so Parkinson lets it bounce through to Josh English. Single to Keogh, moves on to 7, 67 for 2. What will Josh do this time? Will he try and put Parkinson into the pavilion? Parkinson bowls onto the legs. It stays a little bit low, thumps into the pads. English comes running out from behind the stumps, hurls the ball at the non-striker's end. Parkinson can't take it cleanly, but I was too busy watching the ball, so I'm assuming Tom Lungley has signalled a leg by there. Single taken one way or the other, 68 for 2. Cobb, I think, was on 21 previously as well. Parkinson in again to Keogh, who goes back and pleasantly plays it firmly back past Parkinson, who smacks the ground in irritation, having dived away to his left. He thought he should have got there to cut it off before it ran down to Lewis Hill at long off. An intense young man, Callum Parkinson, when he crosses the ropes. He is in and bowls to Cobb, who makes room and hits it high over long off for 6. And only just over long off. And Cobb actually raises his eyes to the heavens. He didn't think he'd got all of that. It sounded quite nice off the bat though, and it's a longish old hit down there away to our left. One of the floodlight pylons, Lewis Hill, was down there, jumped up to his left, but it was about a foot or so above his reaching left hand. Cobb picks up another 6, moves on to 27, 75 for 2, just 64 more needed as Parkinson is in to Cobb. Stays a little bit low, but it's short, so he can pull it away out to deep square. Naveen comes in and fields, takes 1. Cobb moves on to 28, 76 for 2. Parkinson, 2.5 overs, none for 30 at the moment, is in to Keogh, who is forward, stroking it back past him sensibly. Again, Keogh just keeping on top of the ball, picking up his ones, letting Cobb attempt the big strikes. Keogh moves on to 9 off 12. Steelbacks, after 9 overs, are 77 for 2, well ahead of Duckworth Lewis now, which shows 57, just 62 more needed from 11 overs with 8 wickets in hand.
That's that 6 of Josh Cobb's away over long off. He gave himself so much room. He basically showed all 3 stumps to Callum Parkinson. He said, okay, you know, there's the stumps, bowl at them. And he did, and he was well outside leg stump when he played that shot, and as you say, he didn't quite get all of it, but he got enough of it. And it's going to be Naveen coming back into the attack, this time from the far end, the Bennett end.
See if you can pick his variations, watching him from behind the batsman.
Well, if the batsmen haven't got too sure, I'm not quite sure. I think if I could, I should be out there, not up here. But anyway, here's Naveen from the Bennett end, running into bowl to Rob Keogh, 77 for 2, and that's back of the hand job. But again, it just died in the pitch a little bit. It was the problem with that was it was too wide, and he gave width to Rob Keogh, who didn't again need a second invitation, and cracked it away through backward point for 4. 13 to Keogh, 81 for 2. Yes, it was a real sort of arms and legs job, that, wasn't it? You see it coming out of the back of the hand like a very fast leg break, but it had width, and that's what enabled Rob Keogh to put it away for 4. 81 for 2. 58 more runs needed. Is Naveen from wide of the crease, bowls to Keogh on drives, just up to mid-on. Ben Mike on the edge of the circle, and there's no run.
Partnership 44 off 30 balls.
Yeah, these two have done a decent job. It was very noticeable when Rob Keogh was looking to finish the game against Lancashire on Friday night that he went for 1 or 2 big shots, and Mohamed Nabi was in with him, and Nabi just gave it the big calm down. Just finish the job, and where a bit of experience comes in very useful. Here's Naveen again, bowls to Keogh, forces him onto the back foot, plays it up to mid-wicket, and there's no run. Although Rob Keogh, to be fair, has been around a while now. Man and boy with Northamptonshire, came through the Northamptonshire Academy, made his first class debut, I think it was like 11 years ago. And one of the sort of the unsung members of the Northamptonshire side, but his record, particularly in red ball cricket, very impressive. Here's Naveen again, bowls to Rob Keogh, again gives him width. In fact, he gives him so much width that it's signalled a wide by umpire Peter Hartley after thinking about it. Keogh, what made me think that he might not signal that was that Keogh had actually given himself a lot of room and was backed away outside leg stump. And Naveen taking all the pace off that one and bowling it, tried to sort of hide it away wide outside off stump, but too wide, said umpire Hartley. One more onto the total, 82 for 2. 57 runs needed by Northamptonshire. This is the 10th over, so this is halfway. And here's Naveen from the Bennett end. In again, bowls to Keogh. This time comes right across his stumps, and that's a clever bit of batting. He finished up outside off stump this time and just works it away through mid-wicket. It was a full-length ball around the line of leg stump, and Keogh working that away through mid-wicket nicely for 4. Good timing and a clever bit of batting from Rob Keogh, and finds the boundary, and Northamptonshire up to 86 for 2.
Yeah, really sweet piece of timing. If he was in charge of county cricket, he'd have an hour for lunch, an hour for tea, make pitches flatter, and ban slip fielders.
Yes,
not a batsman.
Yeah, he's had a good year in certainly in red ball cricket for Northamptonshire. He's got a couple of big hundreds, a couple of long partnerships with Ricardo Vasconcelos. Here's Naveen in, bowls to Keogh, and again works it up to mid wicket, and there's no run. So one ball to go, because we had the wide, didn't we? So it's been an interesting over. 2 fours, a wide, and 3 dots so far. So, as you say, with Naveen, you never quite know what you're going to get, but it's always entertaining to watch. And when he gets it right, as he proved when he first came into the attack, and particularly the ball to get Ricardo Vasconcelos, which was a beauty and a very good catch as well. Not surprising that he's up there with the leading wicket takers in the competition. Here's Naveen in again, bowls to Keogh, just waits for that and cuts it away to point and doesn't get a run. So 4 dot balls, 2 boundaries and a wide. All human life was there. 9 off the over, and at halfway, Northamptonshire 86 for 2. So another 53 runs needed off 10 overs with 8 wickets in hand as the players take a drink.
Leicestershire at this stage were 58 for 3. Duckworth Lewis showing 63, so this partnership is taking Northants a long way towards what would be their 3rd victory in 4 matches.
It would be 3 and 4, yes, that's right. Of course, Leicestershire had that little run of having had a poor start, 3 in a row, so really their seasons have almost mirrored each other, and even if Northamptonshire win this, there's only going to be, a point between them, so as there is now, and it'll be the other way, won't it? Northamptonshire will be 8th in the group and Leicestershire 9th.
Rock bottom. 86 for 2.
And you've got a long one coming up, haven't you?
Notts away on Thursday, Durham away on Friday, and then at Taunton, Somerset, for the championship starting on Sunday morning. Thank you, fixture. organiser. 86 for 2. Josh Cobb on strike as Scott Steele goes in and bowls to him, and Cobb just defends very calmly and deliberately. Delivery on off stump doesn't really turn too much. Long on and long off, of course, both out as Steele goes in, bowls to Cobb, who goes back and just dabs it out into the offside, but picks out the fielder Rishi Patel at short third / backward point as Steele is in. Down the wicket goes Cobb, hits in the air, should be caught by Hill, is caught by Hill, running in from long off, about 10 yards inside the rope. So Josh Cobb, having lived, as we said, dangerously, hit a couple of cracking shots as well, but his bright innings has come to an end on 28. Steele has his man caught by Hill. 86 for 3. It was a very good partnership, 49 between Cobb and Rob Keogh. Cobb, the majority of them with 28, but he has come and gone. Now he faced 19 balls for his 28, but the Steelbacks are now 86 for 3.
You have to say there was a certain inevitability about that, wasn't there, really? He'd been chancing his arm right the way through his innings, and as you say, a couple of the 6 over mid-wicket off Naveen was an absolute beauty. He hit that as well as he's hit any shot for a year or two, I suspect, but yeah, he just went for one big shot too many. And now Mohammad Nabi, who, as we said, was actually had to go off the field, having bowled another very tight 4 over stint, had to go off with, just looked a little bit of a strain, side or back, a bit hard to tell, but he was
above the left hip towards the
back.
back.
He just looked uncomfortable, didn't he?
He's okay now, though, it seems, or at least he's okay to bat, so he's not going to be on strike, the ball having been in the air for some little time before being caught by Lewis Hill. So Steele, wicket laden so far, the first 3 balls. In he goes and bowls, though turned away off the back foot by Keogh. The ball did turn a little bit, he just sort of helped it on its way down towards Naveen at deep backward square. Takes 1, he's going to be the foundation, the rock around whom or which Northamptonshire build this reply. You feel now they're well ahead of the game still, although loss of wicket always does affect Duckworth Lewis. It's showing 70 now. Steelbacks 87 for 3. Nabi looks around him. Fairly conventional T20 field as Steele goes in, bowls to him, but Nabi steps back. He says he wasn't quite ready, and umpire Lungley says no, you weren't. Steele looks a little bit disgruntled. He did look as though he was had taken guard. Steele goes in, bowls to him again. Straightish delivery, stays a touch low. Nabi just calmly defends it. He will play, you think, fairly calmly. You would imagine so. He knows that they're very much in control. As Steele goes in, bowls to him, worked out towards mid-wicket, and just the single from the over and a wicket. So Scott Steele showing his worth with the ball as well as the bat. He's actually top of the bowling averages for Leicestershire in this competition. 3 for 97 he had coming in. Well, he hasn't done that average any harm at all, because he's picked up a wicket and he's only conceded, I think, 4 runs in total. 87 for 3 after 11.
Well, again, there's a possibility of history repeating itself, because when Northamptonshire were chasing 131 to beat Lancashire the other evening at Wantage Road, they were 77 for 3, and Nabi and Keogh came together and just knocked them off with 10 balls to spare. But still some batting to come. Of course, Wayne Parnell, who's been batting at 3 or 4, has obviously been dropped down for the purposes of this one. Still also safe save, Tom Taylor, Graham White, and then Brandon Glover and Freddie Heldrick. Heldrick had a super night with the ball. Here's Gavin Griffiths coming into the attack for the first time, and his first ball to Keogh. He's whipped away up to deep mid-wicket for a single. Keogh up to 19, and Northamptonshire 88 for 3. And I think you're right, Richard. I think with Keogh it's going to be a question of he's going to be the one that's just going to try and bat through. That said, as I say, Nabi was very insistent, very visibly insistent on Friday night against Lancashire, that they just took it steady, didn't take any unnecessary risks and risk putting pressure on the batsman to come. Here's Griffiths in, bowls to Nabi, and just to prove the point, just works that quietly behind square on the onside for a single. He's off the mark, 1 to Nabby.
They need 6 and over from this.
Well, yeah, it's a runner ball, isn't it? So yeah, they can just knock it around. They don't need to do anything daft. But as you and I have watched enough T20 cricket to know that often what a side needs to do and what they actually do often don't bear a great deal of resemblance to each other. So Leicestershire still in the game. Here's Griffiths, bowls to Keogh, on drives nicely, pleasant stroke, but good bit of fielding there at mid-on by Lewis Hill, and there's no run. No, it's the red mist sometimes descends, doesn't it, in these situations, and batsmen think, let's get this over with and be a hero. But Mohammad Nabi is pushing 300 T20 appearances around the world. He's seen most things before in this format, you would imagine. Here's Griffiths, in again, bowls to Keogh. Again, carbon copy of the previous stroke, on drives up to Lewis Hill at mid-on, and there's no run. So, if nothing else, in the last couple of overs, Leicestershire have just restored a little bit of control. A couple of good overs. Scott Steele picking up the wicket of Josh Cobb and conceding just a single in his previous one, and just 2 runs off the first 4 balls of this over from Gavin Griffiths on what hasn't been a great night for the seamers, it must be said. Here's Griffiths in again, bowls to Keogh, who's going to pick up a single there, just drives that out to the man sweeping on the cover boundary, and comes in and fields, sends in his return on the bounce to Josh Inglis, and 1 more run. Keogh up to 20 and Northamptonshire to 90 for 3, so 49 more runs needed. 8 overs to go after this one, 7 wickets in hand, strong position, but still a job to finish. Pretty even between these two sides in T20 cricket over the years. As Griffiths comes in, bowls to Nabi, just picks up a single, dropping it down on the onside. And Hill has to come in this time from mid-on to field, and they get a single, so 4 singles off the over from Gavin Griffiths, his first one, and Northamptonshire needing 48 to win off 8 overs, 7 wickets in hand. They're 91 for 3. Yeah, the 16 matches between these two sides so far. Northamptonshire have won 7, Leicestershire have won 6, and 3 no results. But of course the most recent meeting was a serious shellacking that Leicestershire gave Northamptonshire at Wantage Road about 10 days ago. That marvellous 100 from Josh Inglis.
At the moment, Northants very much favourites to take their revenge. Scott Steele will continue from the pavilion end. Bowls to Nabi, who hits hard and high over mid-wicket for 6, over a straightish mid-wicket. Ben Mike down at long on can only jog to his right to pick up the ball, and having said that, Nabi was probably just going to work it around, but it did toss it up a little bit. Steele there was in the slot, and Nabi could not resist, but connected splendidly from his point of view. Picks up 6, moves on to 897 for 3. Steele is in again, bowls to him, he's sliced in the air, should be caught by Patel at backward point, is caught by Patel at backward point. So everything we said about Mohammad Nabi being calm and sensible and seeing the Steelbacks through, utter rubbish.
What was that?
As he slices a huge hoik outside off stump, high in the air, Patel takes the catch. Steele has his 2nd wicket in as many overs. He has 2 for 11 from 2.2 overs now. Steelbacks 97 for 4. Could there be a twist?
Could there be? That was a very interesting choice of stroke. 8 runs off 6 balls for Mohammad Nabi, and yeah, I mean it goes. We were just thinking back to Friday night when he was just saying and making the point to Rob Keogh, and I was asking Wayne Parnell actually about it after the game, and he said, yeah, well, you know, he and I have obviously played a huge amount of T20 cricket, and we've just got to bring that experience to bear, and just make sure that, you know, the other members of the side, perhaps with less experience, just aware of what the game plan is. And well, Labby's out, Parnell's in, so one very experienced T20 cricketer replacing another, but that was a surprising choice of stroke.
There's been some daft cricket played in this match so far.
Well, you said it.
In goes Steele and bowls to Keogh and almost plays on to his stumps. He went back there, stayed a little bit low. He just managed to keep it out, but could easily have been 2 and 2 there for Steele and the Foxes. Wasn't. Steele is in. Keogh looking to play it out through the offside. Along the ground it goes, but only as far as Ackerman at short extra cover. No run. Steele is in. Back goes Keogh off the back foot, trying to force it out square through point. Gets a little bit too fine. Patel makes the stop two-handed, falling to his right at backward point. Steele in again to Keogh. Drops a little bit short and is pulled by Keogh. Strong, flat hit. Bounces once before into the hands of Lilly at deep mid-wicket it goes. About 10 feet in front of Lilly. No chance of making a catch out of it. But a pretty good over from Scott Steele. The first 6 notwithstanding comes to an end. 3 overs, 2 for 12 for Steele. And the Steelbacks 98 for 4. Still ahead of the game. But Duckworth Lewis now showing 87 because of the 4 wickets that have fallen, of course. Again, there isn't so very much in it, according to that method of calculation.
No, well, there isn't, and they just need, Northamptonshire just need a bit of a partnership here, just settle things down. 41 more runs needed, 7 overs to go, and Callum Parkinson back into the attack, bowls that one to Rob Keogh, who
Lilly
plays it down to... Oh, beg your pardon, it's Aaron Lilly, isn't it? Sorry. Yes, it is Lilly. Come on, from the Bennett end. Doing a very good impression of Callum Parkinson, apart from the fact that he's bowling from a different arm.
That he's got a beard.
And looks basically nothing like him. So when you're in a hole, stop digging. Single to Keogh, 22 and 99 for 4. So another spinner given a go. Lilly bowling off spin, round the wicket, bowls wide to Parnell. Again, just trying to hide it, but Parnell's strong, punches it away. It's a good sliding stop out there at extra cover, but they're still able to come through for a couple, and that brings up the 100 for Northamptonshire.
I'm not sure Callum could grow a beard, bless him. Still baby smooth.
No, that's right. There's very little resemblance. 100 up for Northamptonshire off the second ball of the 14th over.
Both Lancastrians.
Oh, well, there you go. That was obviously what I was thinking about. He lied unconvincingly. Dot ball played up to Ward's mid-on by Parnell, but Lilly able to intercept. Lillian again bowls to Parnell, runs that down off a thick outside edge, and they thought about a single, but Rob Keogh rightly deciding that Scott Steele was onto the ball pretty quickly, so rules out the single. And now 5th ball of the over, deep mid-wicket, back on the fence, and Parnell working that away off his hip, just down behind square on the onside. And they're able to come through for a single. 1 more to Parnell, who goes up to 3. And Northamptonshire to 102 for 4. Parnell with his 5th English county. Various stints. Lilly over the wicket, bowling to Keogh, who drives it up to long on. And again, they're able to come through for a single. So it's a tidy enough over from Aaron Lilly, who missed out with the bat tonight, hoping to make a mark.
104 for 4.
The local wildlife are after you, Richard.
Well, something strange
large
dropped in there.
insect, I think.
It's disappeared now, which worries me slightly. Wondering where it might be. Waiting for me next time I come in. Round the wicket goes Steele. Bowls to Parnell. Almost bowls in. Parnell tries to cut it away from just outside off stump. Goes into the gloves of Inglis. No more than an inch outside off stump. In goes Steele. Bowls. Pleasant drive from Parnell. Diving across to his left. The man at short extra cover swindles, gets a hand to it, but can only slow it down en route to Ben Mike at long off. Single taken. Yeah, I remember Parnell. It was Kent his first county, I think, but he was lightning then. In he goes and bowls, driven firmly by Keogh out towards wide long off. Hill is the fielder, and there's no run. He was South Africa's big fast bowling hope, wasn't he?
Yes, he certainly was.
Very quick. He just used to try and bowl fast in those days. Steele is in and bowls to him. He leans forward, steps forward, and drives it out to Mike at long off, just picking up the ones at the moment, content with that for the time being. Keogh has 25 off 31 as Steele goes in, bowls to him. Same story, he steps back, makes a bit of room, drives it out to long off. Hill, the fielder, 1 taken, so 4 from the first 5 balls, 5 from the first 6 balls, the only 6 balls of the over. 108 for 4, so Duckworth Lewis showing 100, Steelbacks 108 for 4. They are just about ahead of the game, but if it gets towards the last over,
you don't want to take it in. You don't want to.
Things
Yes,
can
you do.
happen.
You don't. They don't want to take it into the last over. Really, this is all faintly reminiscent of what happened on Friday night against Lancashire. So in that instance, Northamptonshire, the 18th over, they were just looking as though they might be going to take it very deep, and they just managed to find a 12, funnily enough, off Matt Parkinson, and it just brought the scores pretty much level with a couple of overs to go, and they won with 10 balls to spare. But they won't really want to take it into the last over, will they? Keogh on 26. Now it is Callum Parkinson who bowls to Keogh. I saw what Ackerman was going to do, bring him on for the next over. Drives up to long on, and they're able to come through for an easy single. One more to Keogh, 27 to him. 109 for 4, 30 needed. Off 35, 35, 30, 29 balls now.
Yep.
And Wayne Parnell on strike. Just tweaking the field here. He's got long on back on the boundary. As Parkinson bowls that one to Parnell, who goes for a big expansive drive. It goes down towards fine leg for 4, and it's 4 byes. So it may just have. I was just going to say if it landed in a foothold or something, because it looked to turn.
Yep.
Just beat the inside edge of Parnell's bat, beat the keeper as well, and ran down to fine leg for 4. So 4 byes. Bit of a Brucey bonus for Northamptonshire. 113 for 4. Didn't miss the stumps by much. Parnell going for a big swing. Appeal for LBW. Not out, says umpire Peter Hartley. So eventful. That didn't miss.
Turned past leg stump, actually.
Didn't miss by much, did it?
No, and that one was outside the line of off stump.
Here's Parkinson in again. Bowls to Parnell, who is out, caught behind down the leg side. And that's a super bit of keeping by Josh Inglis. He was looking to turn that ball away down towards fine leg. Got a little bit of glove on it, I suspect. Maybe a little bit of bat. But Inglis taking it behind the stumps down the leg side. A very, very good catch. And Parnell goes for 5. And Leicestershire are still in there scrapping. And Callum Parkinson picks up the important wicket of Wayne Parnell. And are Northamptonshire going to make a mess of this? Are Leicestershire going to pull out a win from nowhere? 113 for 5. Northamptonshire still need 26 to win.
It would be a mess, wouldn't it, as well, they'd made of it. Bowling has been okay, but as I say, some of the shots have been played tonight.
They found some curious ways of getting out this evening.
Naby shot was a bit of a shocker.
But nevertheless, you've got to give all credit to the Foxes who've just stuck at it. It's all you can do in this sort of situation when you're defending a low score, and just hope that you can nip one out. You just spread a little bit of panic in the camp. And now Saif Zabe coming to the crease and making the observation on Saturday night up at Headingley when he came in, when the game had pretty much gone, to be honest, that he's actually batted. He played a couple of useful innings very early on in the campaign in the first 3 matches, and since then he's had very, very few opportunities with the bat. Here's Parkinson in bowls to him, left-handed of course, and he's back on his stumps, playing it back down the pitch for Parkinson to field, and there's no run. 1 ball to go in the over, so 25 balls remaining. Northamptonshire need 26 to win. 5 wickets in hand now. Here's Parkinson bowling to Zabe, and he picks up a single there as he turns that away past umpire Lungley, and they're able to come through for 1. And again, Fielder running out towards the boundary, going about halfway back just to the edge of the circle, slipped on a rather green, lush-looking pitch, and goes on his backside, but manages to get the throw away. End of the over, 114 for 5. Northamptonshire need 25 to win off the last 4 overs, but now just 5 wickets in hand. And bear in mind, you've got Freddie Heldrick, who can bat, but obviously very inexperienced. Brandon Glover, who doesn't usually contribute a great deal with the bat, but still Taylor and White to come.
Ackerman, the captain, bringing himself on at the pavilion end. He likes bowling 2 left-handers. Normally he's going to be bowling to one in save Zabe. Bowls around the wicket. Forward goes Zabe. Forward defensive shot. Pushes it out to Harry Swindles. Elastic bandages on both his arms. In goes Ackerman. Bowls very short and pulled high over mid-wicket for 6. Bounces, no it doesn't. I thought it was going to just clear the netting in front of the Geary bar, bounce on the tarmac and disappear down Milligan Road. But Ackerman, I'm afraid, as he sometimes does, just dragged it down, and Zabe just went back, rocked back and pulled mightily and high over mid-wicket for a pressure-relieving 6, 120 for 5. That one feels was a big blow in more than one sense. Ackerman in again, better length driven by Zabe, but diving away to his left. Good work by Swindles, who shovels the ball back towards his captain Ackerman. Shakes his hand quietly behind his back as in goes Ackerman. Bowls, and it does straighten a fraction on leg stump. Zabe, having picked up that 6 though, can just defend and push it out to Patel at mid wicket. 6 from the first 4 balls, just that one blow. Ackerman is in. Zabe is driving a foolish delivery outside off stump, thick outside part of the bat, but he's going to pick up at least 2. Could be 4. It is 4. Lilly put in the slide. He overslid, half stopped it, but it just dribbled on and into the ropes for 4. Ackerman can't believe it. Looks daggers, as my mum would have said at Aaron Lilly.
If looks could kill.
4-10 from the over now as Ackerman is in. Zabe is forward, thick inside edge out towards the vacant square leg area. Patel scampers around from mid wicket, but a single is taken. 11 from the over, a very big and important over as far as the Steelbacks are concerned. Might be enough to get them over the line. They need just 14 now from the final 3 overs with 5 wickets in hand. It should, Andrew Radd, be a cakewalk.
Well, I've been watching Northamptonshire for nearly 50 years, and one knows better than to make any sort of assumption and claiming a victory prematurely, but it would be. We'll put it this way: if they lose it from here, it would be a very good story for us to be telling in the next few minutes. And I wouldn't particularly relish the post-match interview, but which, as it is, just sort of put the request in as we do, and I said have a little chat with Josh Cobb, assuming Northampton should get over the line here, but. What you don't want is one of those defeats that the players spend a very long time in the dressing room, which we've had, I have to say, with Northamptonshire, 1 or 2 of those this year. Well, it's Aaron Lilly who's coming back into the attack. Bowled a tidy enough first over, just 5 runs off it. Bowling to the left-handed Zabe, and he's turning that away just fine of the fielder there in at mid-wicket, which is Colin Ackerman, and they're able to come through for a single, 126 for 5. Zabe already up to 13. Finished the championship match down at Hove with a flurry of strokes on the final morning on a pitch that was turning. He speculated that he perhaps fancied getting on the beach. It was a very nice day. Game was over just after midday on the last day. Keogh playing that back down the pitch for Lilly to field. And there's no run. The field now, he's got a man out on the cover boundary sweeping. Long off on the boundary, deep mid-wicket on the boundary. Keogh going aerial, just skews off the outer portion of the bat, runs away down to backward point, and they're able to come through for a couple of runs, but Keogh not really in control of that shot. It's well bowled by Aaron Lilly, bit of a moral victory for him. But Keogh goes to 29, 128 for 5, and that's a much better shot from Rob Keogh. Fuller ball, and Keogh just drives up to mid-off for a single. Takes him up to 30, and Northamptonshire to 129 for 5. 10 runs needed, with 14 balls remaining. Round the wicket comes Lilly, drives to bowls to Zabe, on drives, and it's beat the fielder at mid-on, but Ben Mike comes round covering, and they're able to come through for a couple. Nice shot from Zabe.
Just thinking what a clever shot that was.
Yes,
really
well
adjusted and
well controlled.
played.
And 15 to him now, 131 for 5, 8 to win. Zabe's gone aerial. That's huge. That is enormous. That's 6, and that's landed over the. Again, it's cleared the sight screen at the Bennett end of the ground, and that's a big hit from Safe Zabe. And you would think, barring something very odd, that's just about that. 137 for 5 at the end of the over, so 12 runs off it, and Safe Zabe making a couple of steps down the pitch, hit through it, and in a couple of strokes reminiscent of that finish actually down at Hove in the Championship.
Well, it's been an absolute gem of an innings.
Well, he's a very fine young player who hasn't had a huge amount of opportunity with the bat in the competition in the last couple of weeks, and maybe he's just making the point. There are those, I'm sure, that would think that number 7 is maybe a tad low for him, but anyway.
Do you want to see your team home?
Well,
win?
That's kind of you, thank you. Okay, well, I'm sure they're probably in the dressing room. If they know I'm on, they'll be thinking, "Oh no, get Richard Ray on, please," because if there's any way we're going to mess it up, it'll be if Rad's on. Anyway, it's Naveen running into bowl to Rob Keogh. Northamptonshire need 2 to win off 11 balls now, as a dot ball played by Keogh up to extra cover, and there's no run. Northamptonshire I think are going to be well happy with their performance with the ball this evening, and the catching as well. So 8 catches held, plus a stumping, albeit at the second attempt, maybe even the third attempt by Vasconcelos. Is Naveen in again, bowls to Keogh, who plays that rather an ugly stroke, but it's enough. It's beaten mid-on, it's gone for 4, just dragging it round a little bit, but they won't worry too much about that. It's crossed the rope, and Northamptonshire have won here by 5 wickets with 10 balls to spare. So exactly the same delivery that brings them victory as did against Lancashire at Northampton on Friday night. On that occasion, they won by 7 wickets. On this occasion, it's by 5 wickets, but it's just about kept alive their hopes of maybe reaching the knockout stages. They've still got 4 games to go, and pretty much they're going to have to win them all. But where there's life, there's hope. Well played Rob Keogh, who once again, as he has done on a number of occasions this year, just seeds the side home, and as you say, a little gem of an innings there from Safe Zabe, seeing Northamptonshire home by 5 wickets with 10 balls to spare, their 3rd win of the season.
Yeah, Northants 7 points in the table now, so maximum return of 15 points. 15, sometimes it's enough, not often. It's usually 16 points, but you never quite know. Leicestershire with 6 points could now, even if they win their last 4 games, 2 of which are against Nottinghamshire, will have a maximum return of 14 points. I don't think that's ever been enough to qualify, so I think you have to say Leicestershire, who leaving the field rather disconsolately now, know that their T20 campaign in terms of qualifying for finals day or for the knockout stages is over. Only honour to play for now, and really just tweaking the nose of their near neighbours Nottinghamshire, which is always enjoyable, whatever happens, if it happens. But it's not been a great campaign for the Foxes, that is for sure, and it's come to an end in rather, Adam Whitty, disappointing fashion.
Well, it hasn't been a great evening, has it, really, for great campaign for either side, really, but Northamptonshire just seeing it at home, and David Ripley looking a relieved man down there, and thanks very much indeed, Richard. Always good to be here at Grace Road, and see you again soon.